prosecutor from the Southern District of New York, former prosecutor Andrew McCarthy. We'll introduce him in a bit, Skyping in. After him will be Claire Lopez, 20 years with the agency, Central Intelligence Agency. And then right after Claire will be Frank Gaffney. He was the Deputy Undersecretary for Defense under President Ronald Reagan, whose birthday was yesterday. So all of that is in our first hour. And the first hour is dedicated to defeating the nominee, President Obama's nominee for director of the Central Intelligence Agency. The nominee is John Owen Brennan. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him as we get going. But right now as I speak, this picture and what's going on are not the same here.
It's working.
Okay. Right now, as I speak in Washington, D.C., the hearings are taking place, but there is a little brouhaha going on in the hearing room. If you have not ever been to a hearing in Washington, D.C., a Senate hearing or congressional hearing, you really need to do it. The public are allowed in, and you just sit there in the room, big room, in a hard wooden seats like church pews, and then you listen to everybody testify and whatever goes on. At one point in my life, I had congressional press pass. I used to go sit on the floor, like you can see those guys sitting up on the floor. I would be able to sit up there and follow all of this stuff. It's pretty fascinating. But today our goal is to disrupt the nomination process for John Brennan as the head of the CIA, because we believe, we, the United West, and many of our national security colleagues, that he is absolutely unprepared. Not only unprepared, even though his resume looks on paper as though it's made out of platinum. You almost can't get a better resume. But his understanding of the threat doctrine of Islam either indicates, and our experts will make these points, that he is willfully blind to what's going on or collaborating with the enemy, both of which are not characteristics, folks, that you want the head of the Central Intelligence Agency to have. So that's our thesis. Our job today for this first hour is to prove the thesis that John Brennan, the number one national security advisor to the president, is the wrong man at the wrong place at the wrong time, and in fact is deleterious, dangerous to the national security of the United States of America. That's where we're going. This is a controversial first hour for sure. Our second hour, our friend Ronnie Wexler will be here, Israeli Ronnie Wexler, and he's the individual that leads for 30 years several groups a year, briefings in Israel, to travel throughout Israel and to learn about the country, to learn the history of the country, the religious components of the country, the geopolitics, the national security issues. And he's the individual that is leading the tour that we are going on. Tom Trento, United West, and others, September, 29th, 28th, 29th? And for the first week of October. So you can come on that tour, too.
10-day tour.
Yeah, it's about 10 days, and we'll wind up after a lot of work. We're going to go down to Eilat and I think Petra over to Jordan and do a little R&R, relaxing on the beach. I don't know, can you relax on the beach in near Egypt? I guess you can. Yes, you can. Ronnie assures us that you can. All right, and in our second and third hour, we're going to systematically go through what is occurring right now in Boca Raton, Florida. Actually, it's occurring around the world, throughout the United States, and in Boca Raton, Florida, at Florida Atlantic University. Yesterday, we had on our good friend Gary Faust, who is an instructor at University of California at Irvine, and he confronted the Muslim Brotherhood cultural jihadists at UC Irvine during what they call Israeli Apartheid Week. And we played some of that video yesterday, and we showed you the confrontation that one of the fellows that works with us had at UC Irvine, trying to ask questions of Omar Barghouti, who was born somewhere in Qatar, the record says,
Yeah.
And he
But he won't tell anybody.
He won't tell anybody where he was
born.
born. He studied. He goes to school right now at the University of Tel Aviv, but he says that Israel's an apartheid state.
Yeah.
So we're going to deal with this movement, Israeli Apartheid Week, or Jew Hate Fest, as we like to call it. We're going to deal with that. And last night we had a little kerfuffle with some of the folks over at FAU. We wanted to do what we normally do: go in, videotape, and then expose these people for the dangerous individuals they are, propagating it's a propaganda campaign. And we know their game. We deal with these folks all the time, but they had prepped the federales at Florida Atlantic University to not let us go into the room with our cameras. We're going to dissect that from a First Amendment point of view and show you the errors and possible basis for a cause of action against the university. We're examining that right now. But this is the cultural jihad battle we're in, folks, and we all wish we could get back to the way the world was years ago, where the Muslim jihadis were something on the other side of the dark side of the moon, and life was fine. But right now, we all know if the TSA took a week off, planes would be falling out of the sky, and Islamic jihadis would be the propagators of that situation. Do we have our first guest yet?
Not yet. Everything kind of crashed. Who's the first guest?
Andy McCarthy.
Let me get him.
Yeah, why don't you get him? Let me know when he's on. We'll bring him right on because we have a lot to do, and we want to get to our experts. Let me tell you a little bit about John Brennan. He's 57 years old, born of Irish parents. I believe they're Irish parents. He makes a point of that. Let's see. He's an Irish fighter. Where is he? Irish parents, son of Irish immigrants, in fact. And he grew up in my home state of New Jersey. He's a Jersey boy. And he kind of was, had a wanderlust, as he wanted to travel around. He wanted to get involved. He wanted to do things. So he was interested in the life as someone in the CIA. Went and studied abroad. He studied at American University in Cairo, Egypt, back in the 70s. And while there, he studied Arabic. It's noted that he's fluent in Arabic. And then he got involved with the CIA in various diplomatic posts, and went on to have a career in the CIA, was stationed in Saudi Arabia, and became very involved in the country of Saudi Arabia as an intelligence officer.
The feedback of
None of mine. I'm out. I'm
Okay.
one of the others. So he has a absolutely amazing resume when you look at his resume. Right now, the hearings have been disrupted by Code Pink in Washington, D.C. As we speak, I told you, hundreds of people have been let out of these big rooms. Dianne Feinstein had enough after Code Pink 5 times disrupted John Brennan's presentations. Now, why would Code Pink, a lefty group, be arguing with a lefty administration about a lefty appointment in a lefty headed up by Feinstein, a lefty? Well, the Code Pink folks are very upset with John Brennan that he had anything to do with the drone program, where our new way of defeating Islamic Jihad is by identifying the leadership and pinpointing target drones on them and killing them. And they're very upset with this, so they disrupted everything 5 times. Dianne Feinstein finally, these are her friends, folks. Code Pink. You're in pink
This is
today.
her constituency. These are her homegirls.
CJ, are you wearing pink?
I'm wearing pink, but it's only a coincidence.
For Code Pink? It has nothing to do with Code Pink.
No, it's not hot pink. It's just
Okay.
light pink.
Well, the Code Pink folks disrupted everything in...
I noticed that they had 5 chances to pipe down.
yeah, I'm going to have to redo
Yeah,
this.
do you think they would give you 5 chances to pipe down? Or do you
no.
think that you would be in jail right now?
Yeah.
Like
and-
if you held up the Constitution or something like that during
5
one of
times?
these hearings, they'd haul you right off to jail.
I think time number 1, I would be out of
yeah,
there.
you'd be gone.
I know what's happening. I'm looking at Trento Vision, but something's wrong here. All right, anyway, do we have him yet?
Yep.
Okay, yeah? We do. Okay, let me introduce our first guest. we will do that, get the show on the road. And our first guest is an amazing individual, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in your automobiles right now, driving around Florida somewhere, you're on WNN 1470, 50,000 watts. We're going from North Miami all the way up to Orlando. Some of our friends get the signal up there. You could be listening on iHeartRadio. You can be watching on teapartycommunity.com. And I don't know about TrentoVision.tv. I don't know if that's broadcasting this signal or not right now. As you know, at the Tea Party community, we've been under a hack attack for quite a while. But the guys are sorting through that. Our first guest is an individual who became an attorney some years back and served in New York, the Southern District, as a U.S. prosecutor, and made his bones, ladies and gentlemen, prosecuting and litigating the World Trade Center attack, not the one on 9/11/2001, but the one February of 1993, the first one. And as a result of that, and as a result of Andy's work and his team, FBI agents and everyone else, it's never a one-man operation, but it's led by one man. Omar Abdul Rahman. The blind sheikh is enjoying life at the expense of the federal government in North Carolina right now for the rest of his life, or until
Obama personally escorts him back to Egypt.
Yeah, gets him out.
He hitches a ride, maybe.
Yeah, until he's let loose, because that's what Mohammed Morsi, the president of Egypt, would like. Andy McCarthy, our guest, has written a couple of books, Willful Blindness, the story of the willful blindness of the intelligence and law enforcement agencies to look at the threat of Islamic Jihad. 2008, 2009 wrote Grand Jihad. These are must-read books. And then Andy is one of the lead authors of the book that I'm honored to be a co-author of, Sharia, the Threat to America. Andy McCarthy, welcome to Trento Vision. How are you today, my friend?
Hey, Tom, I'm doing great. I want to make a minor correction. judgment about why he does what he does, whether he's whether he's doughy-eyed, whether he's malevolent. I just really don't know. What I do know is that the implementation of his policy preferences are a disaster for American national security. And if that's because he's incompetent or it's because he's malevolent, it really doesn't make much of a difference to me. What it means is that he'd be a terrible fit for the CIA.
Yeah, and against that, there's been some statements that he's made in speeches that have come out in the past and coming out now. And CJ, who's with me, CJ, say hello to Andy McCarthy.
Hi, Andy. Good to see you
Hey, CJ.
again.
You have a question, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I'm looking up some of John Brennan's memorable quotes, and one of them is from a speech he made at the Center for Strategic and International Studies back in 2010, in which he said, "Nor do we describe our enemy as jihadists or Islamists, because jihad is a holy struggle, a legitimate tenet of Islam, meaning to purify oneself or one's community, and there is nothing holy or legitimate or Islamic about murdering innocent men, women, and children." I mean, that is just completely upside down of anything that we know actual jihadis say, do, and believe. Is that correct?
Well, let's break it down a little bit, because I think he got actually about a third of it right. The part where he says that jihad is a tenet of Islam is undoubtedly correct.
Absolutely.
For those people who suggest that we who are trying to point out what the threat is are sort of weaving this out of whole cloth, I think Brennan is quite correct to say that no, jihad exists and it is a tenet of Islam. It's at that point, though, that he goes off the rails, and let me suggest that he goes off the rails for two reasons. Number one, he's adopting what I think is a modern revisionist effort to change the meaning of jihad, the historical meaning of jihad. And frankly, sometimes I think that that's an effort that we ought to encourage, because if you're ever going to get a reformation in Islam, since jihad is a legitimate tenet of Islam, it's got to be reformed. Otherwise, I don't see where any reformation effort goes. So, there has been this effort to say that jihad is not a physical battle or a military thing. Instead, it's an internal struggle for personal betterment, or the struggle that one has in his community to rid it of bad influences. The problem
our colleague Claire Lopez and then Frank. We want to have this 1 hour and then use this to try to help America understand what's going on. Give us your worst case or a possible worst case scenario if indeed the Senate confirms John Owen Brennan, who speaks fluent Arabic, by the way, and refers to Jerusalem as Al-Quds.
Yeah.
What's going to go on, man, if he makes it?
Well, the reference to Al-Quds is really provocative in a very bad way. Because
Yes.
it sends all the wrong signals to both our friends and our enemies about where the officials who run our national security are coming from. And again, it underscores this theme of the Obama administration that in the world today, you're better off to be America's enemy than America's friend, which is a situation, obviously, that doesn't protect our interests or our security. I think that's really bad, but Tom, to cut to the chase on your main question, I think the worst part of this is that Brennan has colluded with these Islamist organizations, many of which are tied to the Muslim Brotherhood in the United States, to purge the training materials that are used to train our intelligence, law enforcement, and military personnel in the ideology that fuels the threat to the United States. It's kind of Exhibit A that I wrote about in my first book that you were kind enough to mention before, Willful Blindness. This whole idea that we can somehow protect the country by consciously avoiding the threat against us. Obviously, our national security people, above all, I mean, even if everybody else in Washington wants to go up in a balloon about how wonderfully Islam is likely to mesh with constitutional democracy, if they want to do that, fine. It's not really fine, but the important thing is that we don't get that out of our intelligence community. I've always said that, having made every argument about why we shouldn't be treating terrorism as a criminal justice problem, the one good thing about treating terrorism as a criminal justice problem was that in our trials, no matter what they were saying in Washington or anyplace else, in the four corners of the trial, in the four corners of the courtroom, we were able to prove to the jury not only what was done, but what motivated the jihadists to do it. You want that in the courtroom, and you obviously have to have it in the intelligence community if we're going to protect the country. And what I fear with Brennan is you're going to get politicized intelligence to a fare thee well in a way that's going to close our eyes to the things that threaten us. And you can't protect a country that way.
Okay, Andy McCarthy, what should people do right now to stop this process?
Well, this is really down to the Senate. So I would recommend that people contact the United States senators, send them emails, send them make telephone calls, and register your dissent. I mean, right now, it's an uphill battle to stop his confirmation because you have a situation where the Republicans are down in terms of numbers. They'll undoubtedly have at least 3 or 4 Republicans who are going to waver and be inclined to vote for this guy. Maybe many that. And the other problem is even the Republicans who are opposed to him have signaled in other confirmations that they don't want to go the filibuster route. And if you don't filibuster this guy, he's going to get confirmed.
Okay, how can people reach you? You're writing at National Review. You just put an e-book out, didn't you?
Yeah, in fact, the ebook will be out. I think it's already out now as a paperback. It's called Spring Fever, The Illusion of Islamic Democracy. And the best way, I guess, if people are interested in following what I do in the various places I write, the best place would be to go to my website, which is andrewcmccarthy.com.
I got it.
andrewcmccarthy.com. Andrew C., Jersey boy, thank you very much for being with us today. And
thanks, Tom. Thanks, TJ. Good to talk to you.
We'll have you back in the future for an extended briefing
Yes,
and
I would
analysis.
love
You
that.
take care now, though. Okay?
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye. Let's say goodbye to Andy. We got to move along here. What do we have there?
Oh, just a note for you. Yeah, while you're
Well,
talking.
here's the problem.
Here's the problem.
Claire was next. Oh, here, maybe. Oh, that's not her.
Claire's
let me-
delayed for a minute.
Yeah, Claire's a little delayed. Let me make an announcement to the viewers out there.
Okay.
Yesterday's show is playing on Trento Vision. I don't know
Yes,
why.
I don't know why either.
Okay. Do you know why?
Yes.
What should we tell the people? Where should they go? Tea Party Community?
Tea Party Community
Or YouTube.
YouTube.
Either the United West YouTube
You can't watch it on the
account.
Tea Party Community unless you're already logged into the Tea Party Community.
Okay.
YouTube/the United West.
Go to, if you're listening and you want to watch it, or you are wherever, if you can hear my voice, go to YouTube/the United West, and we are playing there on our YouTube account. Or if you go to teapartycommunity.com, you can sign up. And if you haven't signed up already, you can watch it there because I'm looking at it right now. We had a glitch on Trento Vision. We will have that fixed maybe the next hour, tomorrow, no hours, tomorrow. We'll have that fixed tomorrow. Okay, that was that. Claire's delayed, and we had a tight
Okay.
schedule here. But when you get these, these all-stars,
Are you texting Claire right now?
she will be Skyping in. Do you have her name there?
Yeah.
Jim, try getting her.
It's pulling up, but it looks like I can only call her the phone number, not the video conference.
Okay, just try, because she was going to respond to me when she went into a last-minute meeting. She wasn't supposed to go in, but we're pushing.
Just have her call in.
Yeah.
We're pushing Frank Gaffney's time slot. That's the problem, and he's locked in because he has an interview with a senator after that.
Just have
So
her call into the.
yeah, well,
Tell her to call the studio.
she'll notify me. She's not out of the meeting yet. But yeah, you can try to reach her.
Okay. Can we
All
talk
right.
about the subject?
Yeah, let's talk
now?
about this, and
Yeah.
then we got to go to Frank. Let's see. Let me contact Frank. Here, talk. You talk.
Okay. All right. Well, one
Oh, wait,
point.
hang on. You ever see the news people? They have a little thing in their ear.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the director does all of this and is telling people what's going on, but we're doing it live
Yeah.
around ourselves. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
anyway, no, the whole Brennan mess is quite fascinating, and there's just a lot of unknown, parameters about him as far as everything about
I'm
him,
gonna
and
bump.
I just don't see him being as a good fit for the director, directorship. It just does not look good at all.
Yeah. What
me.
were you going to say, CJ? No, it does not. Obviously.
No. What it looks like is this. This guy has an upside down view of what's good for America and who our friends are and who our enemies are, just like this president does. This
Right.
president went to Cairo in June of 2009 when he kicked off his apology tour, and he told the Muslim Brotherhood,
Right.
I'm with you. I'm one of you. That's the perception that he gave everybody. And that's what he's been following through with on his foreign policy, on his domestic policy, with his appointments, on the visitors log to the White House. He is with the Muslim Brotherhood. He sides with the jihadis. And now he's got this guy up for the CIA post who clearly shares the same agenda.
I mean, is there
He sides with the bad guys against the United States.
and why is that? Is there Abedin in his background? Is there somebody advising him?
I don't
or
know.
is it-
I don't know if
what-
it's somebody advising him. I don't know if it's, his own personal journey of self-discovery led him to become an internal jihadi. I don't know, what
Something's-
it is.
Something's not. Something
Yeah.
smells fishy. As they
Something
say
is
in the
not right
fish market,
about it.
right?
Yeah, something. An official of the American government referring to, Jerusalem as Al-Quds.
Yeah, yeah.
That just tells you everything
And also
you need
his
to know
his
right
just
there.
his endorsement of ISNA and all the Muslim Brotherhood bad guys said they're really great people. He's speaking at their conventions and
Yeah.
everything. This is
Yeah,
just
he's one
this
of
just-
them. He's one of them. I mean, there's
I smell a rat.
Yeah, anybody who would look at it who didn't know anything about him or anything at all
Right.
would look at that and say, there's no way anybody would look at it and say he's on our side.
Right.
You get him?
There's just no way.
The pad.
Yep.
So
Yeah, but this just doesn't look good at all.
yeah. And he thought a 20% recidivism rate among Guantanamo detainees was not
Was
bad.
normal. Yeah, like normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, just like, they're just going to go out from Guantanamo Bay and maybe just rob a 7-Eleven and have to get picked up again or something. Well,
And-
no, that's not really what happens.
And also, what we know about the Obama administration, it's systemic in their hiring of people in Muslim Brotherhood, of working with people in the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, it's just systemic. And
They're
you know-
overthrowing whole countries and funding and arming the Muslim Brotherhood to do it.
yeah, and so
In Tunisia, in Egypt,
Right,
and,
right.
and look what they're doing in Syria now.
Yes.
So-
I mean,
Okay, we're working on getting Frank Gaffney, who heads up Center for Security Policy. He's been on the show many times, good friend of ours, and he has his office not too far from the president's house. He's been there quite a long time, and we're going to get him in a second to comment on the Brennan hearings. And I'm monitoring the Brennan hearings on C-SPAN right now.
yeah, and they're are they still shut down?
No, well,
They popped them back up. He's after talking.
Well, I don't think they stopped him speaking. They just got all the people out and then brought them back in. He is now being cross-examined or questioned, I should say. I'm obviously not listening to it, but the show's going on. Tell me when we have Frank.
He's just setting up his.
Okay.
his camera.
So we'll bring him in,
Okay.
and let's see.
Hi, Frank.
All right. Well, our next guest, again, good friend of Trento Vision,
Going good.
Tom Trento, and I've learned a lot through the years from our next guest. He worked for that icon, the conservative icon, Ronald Reagan, back in the 80s. And then Frank started Center for Security Policy, which is a shop, a national security shop, think tank, but more than that, activism organization that works out of D.C. and develops a lot of national security policy and then tries to implement it through working with elected officials and working with the grassroots folks all over the United States. Frank's one of the true American heroes that's trying to keep us safe from the bad guys, but the task is getting harder and harder.
he's also
these
your
days.
traveling partner this fall, isn't he?
Yeah, Frank will be on the tour going to Israel, and Ronnie will be here in a little bit talking about the Israel trip, but Frank will be on the trip with us. Frank is one of the headliners of the tour to Israel, and again, it's open for the general public. We will vet the hell out of you. No whack jobs allowed. Only good, upstanding citizens. You can be any political persuasion you want, any religious persuasion, none of that. You just can't be.
You just can't be a squirrel.
You can't be
No
a crazy
squirrels
person,
allowed.
right? Exactly. Because we'll leave you in the Qumran caves or something. Who knows? But we'll have a good time in Israel. Start saving your shekels. It's about $2,700, I believe, for the trip. And then once you get there, you can just eat everybody else's. That includes food. You can bum cigarettes off of Mark and Mike, and I'm stalling for time. Anything going on? Nothing. All right, let's go into the next phase
Yep,
before we
there
get
we
in.
Okay.
Got him.
Got him?
Yep.
Good.
Frank, you still there?
Good.
Frank, you still there?
Frank.
Hello, Frank. Hey, Frank, can you hear me? Not yet. Another little thing there, but. That's a stupid question, but why in the world would President Obama want a director of the Central Intelligence Agency who thinks jihad is a inner struggle, but is willing to drop Hellfire missiles on the head of jihadis?
Because he's taken jihad, Islamist, Islamic, and terrorist out of the national security lexicon, out of the intelligence lexicon. And that's
Are you there?
going to be his job.
I am.
Not
Can you
to
hear me?
to hand pick, okay, well, we'll let
Yep.
10,000 jihadis go unmolested, but we'll pick 2 or 3 of them and pick them off, and then we can say, oh, look
we
how
did it.
successful
We saved the
are.
day. We saved
yeah,
the day.
Yeah. So this
Okay.
way they can kill
I
as
think they're
few
giving
as
me.
possible.
I think they're giving me the signal here. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, I've already introduced you, our good friend Frank Gaffney. So welcome to Trento Vision. How are you today, sir?
Splendid. Very glad to be with you guys. Thank you for taking up this very important topic of the John Brennan nomination, and why all of us should hope that the Senate will not confirm him to be the next director of the Central Intelligence Agency.
Yeah, Frank, I don't know if you were monitoring the feed, the C-SPAN feed, but Code Pink 5 times disrupted the hearings, and finally Dianne Feinstein had to throw her constituency out. She emptied the whole hall and said, "No more Code Pink people allowed in here. They're upset because of the drone program." But you are a national security expert. You are based in Washington, D.C. Tell the folks on the radio, on Trento Vision, on Tea Party Community, we have a significant audience right now, what your concerns are specifically about Brennan and why he should not be confirmed.
Let me make a larger case about what's wrong with what the Obama administration is doing, and then I'll hone in on the role that John Brennan is playing in it. I think what we've been really subjected to, particularly in the course of the last campaign by President Obama, is what I describe as national security fraud. Now, think about this. In the past 2 weeks, we had the outgoing Secretary of State declare that we are facing a global jihadist threat. And just yesterday, the outgoing Secretary of Defense announced that the world is something to the effect of increasingly unstable. Now, what Hillary Clinton has known for months, if not years, and what Leon Panetta has known for months, if not years, is that the meme that the Obama administration pushed out, most especially as part of its sales pitch for the president's reelection, namely that Al-Qaeda's on the path to defeat and basically everything's coming up roses, was a lie, was not only untrue, actually, but was purposefully misleading. And it has had the effect that was intended, which is to say, to persuade the American people to re-up Barack Obama as our next, commander-in-chief for the next 4 years, and to empower him to perpetuate and arguably intensify the damage that he is doing consistent with this fraud. Now, where's John Brennan fit in all of this? John Brennan, of course, has been the principal architect of much of this foolishness. Specifically, as I'm sure you've talked about with others and know very well, the whole notion that we're not confronting jihad. When Hillary Clinton said, actually, we're facing a global jihadist threat, she was obviously on her way out the door, because that's not something you were allowed to say in the Obama administration for 4 years. And most especially, John Brennan said, we don't use that term. That's not permissible. Now, when you put all this together, where does it leave us? If John Brennan were to be confirmed by the Senate in the next few days, if not weeks, we will, I'm afraid, see an affirmation of the president's policies that have brought us to this point and that are going to make the world infinitely more dangerous in the next 4 years. We'll have a guy who was personally responsible, as that one quote suggests, for politicizing intelligence, who I'm certain was involved in cooking the books on the intelligence assessment involving Benghazi Gate, for example, and in so many other ways, embracing the Muslim Brotherhood, both
Yes.
abroad and literally here. He has made it possible. He has helped further the Obama administration's national security fraud. And I'm quite concerned, alarmed even, to think at what he might do if given a promotion and the affirmation of the Senate in another 4 years.
Yeah, the CJ's with me here, Frank. You had a
Hey,
question.
CJ.
Hi, how you doing?
Very well. I wish I could see you.
I
but,
know, I
I'm
know.
glad to hear
I'm
you.
going to be seeing you soon. I'm
com-
looking forward to it.
You're coming down, I think, in the future, and when you're here, we will have
Next
you.
week.
Yes.
We'll have you in studio.
Absolutely.
I look forward to it.
I really want to ask you, do you know what this sounds like to me when we know what the first Obama administration was all about? We know what Hillary Clinton was all about. It seems to me when you say that they're not making the world safer, I think they are. I think what they're doing is they're making the world safer for Sharia compliance. It's those of us who don't want to be Sharia compliant who are in danger. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's certainly the flip side of the coin. Something that does not make the world safer for us is arguably going to make it safer for our enemies. And I know you spent some time yesterday, I think it was, Tom, talking about our friend Lars Hedegaard, who is kind of the proverbial canary in the mine shaft, a guy who has been in the front lines of the effort to resist exactly what you're talking about, CJ, the encroaching forced submission to Sharia in Europe, his native Denmark specifically, but who's been warning the rest of us that what's now sweeping over Denmark is coming here too. And as we speak, we have, as you know, I'm sure, the convergence of the Muslim Brotherhood with the Organization of Islamic Cooperation
Right.
in the person of Mohammed Morsi,
Right.
the Muslim brother who's now the president of Egypt. And at the Organization of Islamic Cooperation summit meeting in Cairo yesterday and today, they have essentially taken, I think, a giant step forward towards the recreation of the caliphate. And along with that will come, you can bet, the imposition of Sharia wherever they can.
That's wonderful news, ladies and
Why
gentlemen.
does the President of the United States and the officials that he appoints to high positions side with Sharia compliance?
Well, at 49 minutes past 3 o'clock on the East Coast in Florida on TrentoVision.tv and on WNN 1470, the radio side of our simulcast broadcast, we're finding out that there's a lot of fun and games going on. And in fact, right now, a critical meeting is taking place, a hearing in Washington, D.C. that's going to impact every American's life. We have with us Frank Gaffney, who's the founder and president of Center for Security Policy, a national security think tank, and activism. Frank's unlike typical think tanks that just think and push out paper. Frank's on the ground. I've stood on street corners with Frank, fighting, protesting the bad guys. Frank will put his neck out like very few people will, so we admire that. Frank, give us a worst case situation. If John Owen Brennan, who, by the way, according to reports that he has confirmed, speaks fluent Arabic and likes to refer to Jerusalem as Al-Quds, John Owen Brennan, 57 years old, New Jersey guy, what's the worst case scenario if he gets appointed, approved, the director of the CIA?
Yeah, let me just say something about this speaking Arabic. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with speaking Arabic. It can be handy, particularly if you're the chief of station for the CIA in places like Saudi Arabia. Some have criticized me for pointing out speaks it. It's not so much that as his palpable sympathy for other people who speak Arabic and their agenda. Al-Quds is a perfect example. He specifically referred to Jerusalem by the name that is given to it by those who seek to destroy Israel. And that's, I got to say, profoundly troubling. I think it should be to not only friends of Israel, but I think to the rest of us who appreciate that kind of sympathy in somebody who would be in charge of collecting intelligence and providing it to our government, the basis of which may be, all of our policies for our national security. This is not, I think, a sound approach. My own feeling about this is worst case, Tom, we're going to see kind of a continuation of the practice that John Brennan is engaged in the first 4 years. And with President Obama having more flexibility, of course, its intensification. What would that be? That would be specifically an increasing alignment of U.S. policy with that of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Ugh.
It would mean an increasing blindness to the extent to which that is perilous in the extreme. It would mean an increasing politicization of our intelligence services so as to not give offense to Islam or Muslims on the one hand, and more generally to ensure that we're not training our people. We're not equipping them to understand the threat that really is out there. And you cooperated with us in the publication, of course, of our book, Sharia, The Threat to America. CJ talked about Sharia's encroachment. I think that's what we're going to see a lot more of if John Brennan is, God forbid, given the mandate to run the Central Intelligence Agency for the next 4 years.
All right, Frank, there's people on the right. There's conservatives that are very concerned about his misunderstanding of the Islamic threat doctrine, the Sharia, or his collaboration with or in sympathy with the Islamic Jihad. But there's people on the left that disrupted the meeting 5 times today, the Code Pink folks, that hate his drone policy. How do you reconcile our concerns for someone we believe is ill-equipped for the job as the head spook with the fact that he's using a drone program to knock off some of the bad guys?
Well, look, I happen to think that with the caveat that where you can, we should be capturing these bad guys. Because, truthfully, by simply killing them, we're denying ourselves intelligence that may be absolutely critical
That's the point.
to defeating not just them and their immediate cohort, but the larger jihadist enterprise. And to the extent that we wind up using drones to kill those that we can't capture, I personally don't have too much of a problem with that. What I have a problem with is with the exaggeration of the effect that that's having.
Yes.
I don't believe for a moment that, as we've been told, again, this is, I think, national security fraud by the president and by others, that we've decimated Al-Qaeda. I think we've killed a lot of Al-Qaeda leaders, sure, and that's a good thing to my way of thinking, at least where you can capture them. The problem, of course, with capturing them is if you don't have any place to detain them and you can't interrogate them, both of which the president has precluded,
That's right.
you're kind of stuck with them. And that's a lot of people would say less of a good thing than just killing them. But again, it comes back to this issue of if you're serious about waging a counter jihad, if you're serious about stopping the effort to impose Sharia upon us, you need more intelligence of the humankind, and that's frankly something that you by and large can only get if you've got these guys in your possession and you're able to interrogate them robustly. Now, Tom, my bottom line on this is as follows. The Code Pink people, Ron Wyden and others, are entitled, obviously, to cavil about their concerns that we're, somehow treating American citizens abroad in a way that they don't deserve just because they're American citizens. I disagree with that. I think if they are part and parcel of the enemy, they've betrayed their country, they're trying to kill others of us, the president has actually not only the latitude, but I think the responsibility to neutralize them. And if that's being done by drones, to my way of thinking, so be it. It's subject to, of course, as just about anything is, abuse. But my own sense is that what he's done in terms of at least the public rationale we've seen so far to circumscribe circumstances under which that kind of use of drones against American citizens is taking place is pretty restrictive, maybe unduly so, and does not cause me a problem, at least.
All right, excellent. About 15 seconds, Frank. What should everybody do to stop the confirmation of Brennan?
Get in touch with your senator. You can find out who that is and get in touch with their office at 202-224-3121. Encourage them to vote against the confirmation of John Brennan as the next director of the Central Intelligence Agency.
All right, Frank Gaffney, thank you
Thank
very,
you,
very much
Frank.
for being with us today. We got to go
That
now.
was really
My
good.
pleasure.
All right, we'll see you,
Look forward
ladies
to
and
seeing you
gentlemen.
next week.
Absolutely. We'll
Bye-bye.
see everybody else in
Bye,
just a
Frank.
few minutes at the top of the hour, and we're out of
Ciao.
here right now. Bye-bye.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Saturday, 8 p.m. If you have plans, I can't tell you to cancel them, but by 9 p.m. you'll wish you did. Spano's Big Radio Show. Coming 8 p.m. this Saturday night. Go to Facebook.com/Spano's Big Radio Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here at the Uptown Karate Club, where we're about to witness an incredible display of, well, it's hard not to call it anything but a display of stupidity. Hey, buddy! Do you really want to whack that pile of 2x4s with the part of your body that you think with? You know, there are easier ways to prove you're a... Whoa! That's gotta hurt. Like I was saying, there are easier ways to prove you're a man. For instance, registering with Selective Service when you turn 18 shows that you're a man who's responsible and in charge of his life. Plus, it guarantees that you'll have the chance to receive college loans, job training, and government jobs. And best of all, it doesn't hurt a bit.
Register with Selective Service within 30 days of your 18th birthday. Online at www.sss.gov or at your local post office.
Ooh, that's a nasty bruise.
Oh, it does hurt.
Is that a splinter?
This is Health and Wealth Radio, AM 1470, WWNN Pompano Beach, and WKIS HD3, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
IRN USA Radio News, I'm Hope Duggar. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta is defending the Pentagon's response to the Libya attack.
Panetta told a Senate panel it was a question of time and distance. The military simply did not have teams close enough to get to Benghazi.
There was not enough time, given the speed of the attack.
Senator John McCain took issue with Panetta and Joint Chiefs Chairman Martin Dempsey testifying the military had assets in place worldwide based on estimates of other threats, saying the Pentagon should have been able to get to Libya in time.
For you to testify before this committee that they were consistent with available threat estimates is simply false.
Sagar Meghani at the Pentagon.
The Northeast is expected to get pounded with a major snowstorm starting tomorrow morning. Forecasters say some areas could get as much as 2 feet of snow. This is IRN USA Radio News.
I will never forget the day my son Jeremy told me he hated me and slammed the door in my face. I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. Behavior problems can turn the child you love and your life into a nightmare. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the step-by-step program that shows you how to fix the worst behavior problems and get your child to respect and listen to you again. No matter what the behavior, defiance, backtalk, angry outbursts, disrespect, we can help you stop it. Now you can get the Total Transformation for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. You can keep it forever for free.
Limited number of free programs available. Call now. 1-800-893-4392. 1-800-893-4392. That's 1-800-893-4392. 1-800-893-4392.
Members of congressional intelligence panels are studying a top-secret memo that gives the White House rationale for drone strikes targeting al-Qaeda operatives overseas. The memo was provided just hours before President Barack Obama's choice to head the CIA faces a Senate Intelligence Committee confirmation hearing. John Brennan helped manage the drone program. The head of the National Rifle Association says he's confident that Congress won't approve an assault weapons ban or an ammunition limit in the wake of mass Colorado and Connecticut. David Keene calls such gun control proposals feel-good measures that he says won't do any good. Keene is in Denver meeting with Colorado's Democratic governor and state lawmakers who proposed additional gun restrictions in the aftermath of last summer's movie theater shooting. The number of new unemployment claims is showing a decline. Fewer Americans sought unemployment benefits last week, indicating companies continue to hire at a modest but steady pace. The Labor Department says weekly applications for unemployment benefits fell 5,000 to a seasonally adjusted 366,000. For the latest news and analysis, log on to IRNUSAnews.com.
Running a facility, chances are managing inventory isn't your favorite part of the day. Stocking and tracking, ordering and organizing, all necessary evils eating up your time. That's why Grainger's KeepStock services help you manage your inventory more efficiently. From basic labeling and scanning to secure dispensing machines, putting you in total control, often allowing you to buy less, making things seem, well, not so evil anymore. Contact your Grainger representative or visit Grainger.com/KeepStock today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Los Angeles Police Chief Charlie Beck says the fugitive ex-police officer wanted in 3 murders has multiple weapons. He also says more than 40 protection details have been assigned to possible targets of fired officer Christopher Dorner. Beck says the massive manhunt for Dorner may be the largest in the department's history. Dorner is suspected of murdering a couple last weekend, killing one Riverside officer and wounding another early today, and wounding an LAPD officer a short time earlier. Senator Robert Menendez is acknowledging his office contacted U.S. health agencies in a way that would help his biggest political donor. That donor is the same doctor whose private jet Menendez used for 2 personal trips to the Dominican Republic. But the New Jersey Democrat denies he sought to intervene improperly in billing disputes between the doctor and the government. A report by a Texas-based Christian nonprofit shows persecution of Christians in China rose 41.9% in 2012 from 2011.
According to the Christian Post, the report looks at 132 persecution cases involving 4,419 people. China Aid also says the number of people sentenced in cases relating to religious persecution rose 125% in 2012 from 2011. Jordan Hooker, IRN, USA News.
Disaster officials are still trying to reach remote villages in the Solomon Islands that were hit by a tsunami after a magnitude 8 earthquake yesterday. The death toll has risen to at least 9 people as workers find more bodies in wrecked homes and debris in the South Pacific island chain. With IRN USA Radio.
Happy, healthy, and wealthy. Follow the American dream. On South Florida's AM 1470 WNN.
Here's some great news from Tom Trento, host of the daily WNN Trento Vision Show. Due to the unparalleled success of the Trento Vision Show, you now have an amazing opportunity to advertise on the Trento Vision Show. If you want more information about this excellent opportunity for your business, please contact Tom Trento at 561-319-5533, or you can email him, tom@trentovision.tv. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and trentovision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Okay, I'm back. We're all back. We didn't go anywhere.
All happy little camper back.
Yeah, okay.
We're back.
Let me tell you, Nature's Valley sweet and salty nut bars. What's that little bottom thing say there?
Right here?
Yeah, let me see this. Nature's Valley, we're doing a commercial. Roasted mixed nut. Nature Valley sweet and salty nut. Oh man, these things are good, huh, Mark?
They're
like
they're
these?
actually on sale this week at Publix, only $1.99 a box. That's like half off.
And for those of you in Europe, look for your local Publix, and you can find it here or in California. California, I think they have Piggly Wiggly, something like that, or Safeway, King's, all different stores all over. Hi, Tom Trento at 7 minutes past 4 o'clock on the East Coast. 7 minutes past 1 o'clock in California. 7 minutes past, what is, let's go to Israel. Because we're going to be talking a lot about Israel. What is the time in Israel right now? World clock.
It would be 11:07.
7 hours now.
Yeah.
So 7 minutes after 11 o'clock at night for all you Israelis. We have some fascinating stuff going on in the United States of America, particularly the campus of Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton. It's called Jewish Hate Week. Oh, we need that song.
I think they have a whole month.
He's Joe played us. He's gone. He could have played us. The Catholics hate this, and everybody hates the Jews. Yes.
Yeah.
But we like this Jewish guy right here. Ronnie, how you doing, man? Watch out for the glasses, Mark's glasses that are right there. Our in-studio guest just showed up. Better late than never. He's on his. Well, yeah.
Yeah, but he.
I did. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We start talking to you. Oh, Claire is where? On Skype?
Which one is right? Oh, there we are.
Not Skyping?
This way.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
What does that mean? She's just
Hi,
on
Kenny.
I don't want to do that. Okay.
Are we sharing
We'll bring her
a
on
mic?
for a couple of minutes. Yes, you guys are sharing a mic, and we have Claire over there.
Okay, we have Claire on the line. Yeah.
We got a bunch of things going on here right
Lots
now on
of stuff.
TrentoVision.tv, which isn't working right now. Don't go to TrentoVision.tv.
Go to YouTube.
Go to. Did you get her on YouTube? How do people get on YouTube?
YouTube.com.
YouTube.com. Yeah, tell them.
YouTube.com/The United West.
/ That's the one at the bottom, right? The same slash
yeah,
that goes that way.
slash
Okay.
/ The United West.
The United West, one word. That's where we're broadcasting, or teapartycommunity.com, and I think you have to be a member, and just sign up. Go there. But I'm monitoring Tea Party Community right now. A couple of words about the Tea Party Community before we bring our first guest in, who was going to be our last guest the last hour, but her car had 4 flats all at once.
And someone stole her purse.
And they stole her purse, and the ground
And
opened
the
up.
dog ate her homework.
Yes, all those things happened at once, and she wasn't able to be with us. At least that's what she told me, and I believe every word that she says. But what we're doing right now, folks, for this day, our first hour was dedicated toward trying to disrupt and disable and destroy, if possible, the nomination process, the confirmation process of John Owen Brennan. And we're going to ask our next guest a bit about that because she's an expert in these areas. She worked for 20 years in the agency that John Owen Brennan is trying to become the capo di capo, the boss of all bosses of the Central Intelligence Agency.
I think Code Pink has a better chance of derailing that than you do.
I think they do. Code Pink. Now, we'll talk to our first guest in a second about that. But a couple of housekeeping items. If you're on teapartycommunity.com, that is, we are the communications partner for a new alternative to Facebook. And folks, we're in an ideological battle. When this thing was rolled out this past Saturday, the 4th of February, 5 to 7, right here on this holy ground, right here at the Beasley Broadcasting Company, WNN 1470, when we had Jan Morgan and Ken Crow in studio. When I hear music going on.
I hear Skype music.
When we had all of that going on, we were immediately attacked through a hack attack that was generated, as we're told, by governments. It was at a governmental level, 450,000 requests, which
just shoot me.
A denial of service attack, and it's been nonstop since then, since Saturday. Today's Thursday. Tea Party Community has been under constant attack. The team of phenomenal technicians are stabilizing the site. Please bear with us on that site. Right now, trolls are doing some very bad things. Trolling along, doing bad things, but we're working on it. And it is going to be a communications, a social media platform. We're the communications arm of it that will have tremendous effect. In fact, if we were operating at 100%, Tea Party Community, us here, right now, we would be focusing in on what's going on in Washington, D.C., lighting up the phones of the senators, telling everyone You may get with that chair right there. Telling everyone, call your senators, do all that sort of stuff, putting tremendous political action and activity on the senators. Watch these glasses right here, Mark. Your glasses. So that's where we're going with all of that. I should tell you this too. Next Monday will be speaking in Pompano. If anybody wants to come, I think 5 or 6 o'clock. I may have to leave here a little early. I'll be speaking at a Republican club in Pompano. I'll give you more information on that tomorrow. And it'll be a really nice evening together. Good group of people there. I'm their guest speaker. My talk is entitled, These Are the Times That Try Men's Souls. If you follow the show...
That sounds familiar.
If you follow the show, we've dealt with Thomas Paine's great American Crisis pamphlet that was written December 23rd, 1776, as George and read to the troops in Trenton during the crossing of the Delaware, fighting the Hessians on the other side. I'll deliver a little talk, interesting talk, and then we'll open it up for just Q&A. We'll lay out what we think is going to happen with the Obama administration in this next year, what the Islamic Jihad will occur. I'll just give you just cut to the chase. The Muslim Brotherhood is going to have occupy the west wing of the White House, so they don't have to travel from their Washington headquarters. They're just going to move right into the White House. Well, they're halfway in already, but they'll be officially in the White House, the Muslim Brotherhood. And, we're going to gently move toward a caliphate in the United States of America, based probably out of Chicago.
But no worries.
Don't worry about that. But we're going to Israel, so nothing matters. But right now we want to bring on our very good friend and our mentor in many respects, someone who we've been working with for many years. She was one of the lead authors and editors of Sharia, The Threat to America, that book that is the handbook to understand Islamic Jihad as articulated through the modality of the Muslim Brotherhood's cultural jihad or civilization jihad here in America. Notwithstanding John Brennan's There Is No Jihad, we wrote in a book, there really is, and Claire spent 20 years in the Central Intelligence Agency dealing with that and other world and U.S. threats. Claire Lopez, welcome to Trento Vision.
Hi, Claire.
Hey, Tom. Hey, CJ. It's good to be with you both, and sorry I couldn't be on earlier.
No problem. You're a busy person. And
we know the dog ate your homework. We told everyone.
And 4 flat tires and all that.
Yep. We wanted to Skype you in so that everybody could see you, but we couldn't get that going. So we will just hear your lovely voice. How about that?
Sounds good. I mean, I hope it sounds good.
It sounds great.
Sounds great.
I'm going to ask you the same questions I asked our colleagues Andy McCarthy, the prosecutor, and Frank Gaffney, the head of Center for Security Policy. Though you spent 20 years in the agency, you're retired. You're a fellow now with Center for Security Policy, and you're a fellow with RadicalIslam.org. You're a busy fellow, Claire.
I do keep occupied, that's for sure.
Yes. Right now, I don't know if you have not, because you have been in meetings, but the hearings are going on in Washington, and Code Pink 5 times, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 times Code Pink jumped up and disrupted the proceedings. Finally, Dianne Feinstein got so pissed that she threw everybody, hundreds of people, had to be 200 people in the hall, in the room. Code Pink, she banned her own constituents, her supporters, from coming back. Is
that really true?
It's true.
Like 4 flat tires?
No, it's true. 5 times, and the look on her face when she had to throw Code Pink out. The left is eating themselves. It was just hysterical.
Oh, I'm so sorry I missed that.
Yes,
yeah, you're right.
yes.
I have not seen the hearings up until now. I have just been able to look at the TV again.
But Claire, people that aren't involved to the degree we are in all of this, if you look at the CV, the curricula vitae of John Owen Brennan, 57 years old, New Jersey guy, went to American University in Cairo, speaks fluent Arabic, served as station chiefs, all of that. I mean, the guy's resume is just platinum. It looks amazing. Why do you have a problem with a guy that looks so good on paper?
Well, because I think we judge the candidate for the office not so much by his resume or his CV, but by his record, his public record, what he has said, what he has done, what he has spoken about. And in that category, I think probably is your two esteemed earlier guests, both Andrew McCarthy and Frank Gaffney probably, told you and the listeners, this man is a disaster for the threats that face the United States of America right now. He is a complete mismatch for the post of CIA director.
And why so? Yes, both of our colleagues said that, and I asked them to substantiate that with something verifiable for the guy in the street. We have a lot of Tea Party people watching who are just getting into national security. We have a lot of Jewish people watching here that say, well, he's killing the jihadis with missiles, and he loves Israel and all of that stuff. What's the factual information that disqualifies John Brennan from being the director of the Central Intelligence Agency?
Well, I'll split it into two parts, and I know that Andy and Frank probably covered his positions about jihad, his what must be deliberate misrepresentation of what jihad means within Islam. He is a Middle East guy. He's supposed to be a Middle East expert. He served in Saudi Arabia. He knows, or should know, for his professional position, what Islam is, what Islam says, what Islamic law says, and says specifically about jihad. And yet, time and again, publicly, he has denied that jihad means warfare, kinetic, military fighting warfare. He has tried to whitewash it repeatedly in public. You can find it all over YouTube. That jihad is a holy struggle, an effort to purify, and so forth. It's not about murdering innocent men, women, and children. He's not honest. He is dissembling. I mean, that's the kindest way that I know how to put it. About the nature of the enemy, the Islamic Jihad enemy that faces us. Now, that's not to say that he might not be, extremely good on the threat, that an adversary or a future adversary like China might pose. But this adversary, the Islamic Jihad adversary, he is abysmal, and he's on record. He has deliberately tried to misrepresent what the meaning of jihad is within Islam, and as determined by Sharia. Let me move to the second part then, because I think that was probably pretty well covered, with your two prior guests. I want to get into a little bit about Iran, because that's something perhaps maybe was not touched on so much.
No, it was
stop
not.
picking on him about Iran.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I would say. John Brennan, was serving in the CIA at quite senior positions in the late 90s, middle to late 90s, and then, of course, after 9/11 as well, up until the middle 2000s. That means that he was in a position of responsibility and responsibility to know, professional responsibility to know that Iran was part of and equally responsible for the attacks of 9/11, along with Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah. He knows that. And he also knows that a legal case called the Havlish case, I think we perhaps have spoken about this before, was brought by a number of widows and survivors of those who were murdered on 9/11. And that legal case came to conclusion in December 2011 in U.S. Federal District Court in New York. And Judge George Daniels ruled from the bench publicly, and by the way, it's also online. Anyone can go and look, www.iran911case.com. And he ruled that Iran was responsible for 9/11 equally, along with Al-Qaeda. Now, let me go even further. Not only should our candidate for CIA director have known this, known it at the time that it happened, 9/11 itself, he should have known. He certainly should have known about this case, and perhaps he did know about this case, the Havlish case, Iran911case.com, because here's what happened. There are 3 defector witnesses to this case. They are former members of the Iranian intelligence service and also from the IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And those witnesses are in a safe place. They're not in the United States, but they are out of Iran. And they were part of this case, which I also was an expert witness for. And at that website, Iran911case.com, you'll find the affidavit that I co-wrote with colleague and friend Bruce Teft. And it shows, without a question of a doubt, that Iran was involved. Now, the thing that I was going to talk about here is that as this case was pending before Judge George Daniels in Southern District of New York in 2011, before he ruled in December that year, an individual representing himself as a CIA operative found 2 of our defectors, went to those defectors and tried to threaten them and intimidate them to suborn their testimony, to recant their testimony. Even dragged one of them into a nearby local U.S. embassy in the city they were in and grilled that person for 5 hours. Okay, that is how our government and our CIA responded to a legal case in the Legislative Federal District Court of New York that was going to expose that the United States government should have known, and now does know beyond a shadow of a doubt with the case, that Iran was involved in 9/11. Mr. Brennan has never held Iran to account, has never even spoken about the guilt that Iran was involved in 9/11, whom Mr. Brennan would like us to deal with, to talk with. And the regime itself of Iran never ever held them to account. That is what I would lay at his doorstep and ask him to explain.
So you up the ante. If you were in the hearings and you were one of the senators or one of the aides to the senator, not only would you obviously question the Islamic Jihad stuff, the Brotherhood, all that, but you would introduce his failures being in the intelligence community all these years as it relates to Iran. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
We only have a couple of minutes left, Claire, with you here. What does it mean when, and they both did, Frank and Andy commented on this, but I want to get your point too. What does it mean when he, Brennan, as it relates to the threat doctrine of Islam, the Sharia, when he talks specifically about jihad as being an inner struggle, and when he refers to Jerusalem, in public speeches as his favorite city, Al-Quds as his favorite city, what is that? What is Al-Quds? What is he talking about?
Well, I mean, as probably many of your listeners do know, Al-Quds represents the Arabic term, the Islamic Muslim term for Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish people and the state of Israel. And when he refers to it as Al-Quds, what Mr. Brennan is saying is that this city belongs to Islam. The city is Islamic. It is Muslim.
That's
because
what I
it was
said.
conquered by Islam at one point in time.
He's telling everybody I'm with you. I'm with the Muslims. I am Islam.
That is exactly what he's doing. For people who understand what these words mean,
Right.
that is what he is saying.
So
And
now
what he
why would
tried-
somebody who isn't a Muslim say something like that?
Nobody would. No one who is not a Muslim would say such a thing. They would understand what the term means. They would know that this is used by Muslims who intend, for instance, as the Muslim Brotherhood and the new Egyptian government of Mohammed Morsi has said repeatedly, or has Yusuf al-Qaradawi, the senior jurist of the Muslim Brotherhood, has said repeatedly. They talk about conquering Al-Quds, taking back the Al-Aqsa Mosque up on the Dome of the Rock up on top, built on top of the Jewish second temple. And they are referring to that as the objective of Islamic Jihad. One of the objectives, the eternal objectives of jihad, of course, is the destruction of the Jewish people. And when anyone refers to Jerusalem as Al-Quds, they are talking about Islam conquering and destroying and annihilating the Jewish people, the state, the modern state of Israel, and taking it back for Islam. There's a doctrine in Islam called the doctrine of sacred space. Any place ever conquered or occupied by Islam is considered by Muslims to be forever Waqf, W-A-Q-F, Waqf.
Waqf, yep.
Endowed, land endowed by Allah to Muslims. And so when anyone refers to Jerusalem as Al-Quds, they are referencing the doctrine of sacred space. They are referencing the doctrine that the Jewish people must be annihilated and the modern state of Israel must be erased from the map. That is all tied up in the use of that term. And that it should come out of a senior member of the Central Intelligence Agency who's now nominated to be director is just nothing short of appalling.
And ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Claire Lopez at 28 minutes after 4 o'clock, who spent 20 years of her life retired from the Central Intelligence Agency, stationed all over the world. Claire is a national security expert, an expert on Iran, on the Muslim Brotherhood, speaks 4 or 5 different languages, studying Farsi right now. And we had the United West the opportunity last year, right around this time, to go to Israel, and Claire was on our team, and we spent 10 days in a briefing in Israel. And Claire, right now you have not met Ronnie Wexler, but he's a good friend of ours here in South Florida. He's an Israeli and an American citizen, and for 30 years he's been taking tours and briefings back and forth from the U.S. to Israel. He goes once or twice a month, and we are going with him. The tour that Frank's going on, and Bill Murray and myself. You have to come on this one, Claire. It's the end of September.
I'll do it if I can.
Yeah.
I'll do it if I possibly can. I'd love to go back.
But Ronnie, meet Claire.
Hi, Claire. I was listening to your
Ronnie.
words, and I could not agree more. As a matter of fact, as you spoke, as a historian myself, I can say that 2,000 years ago, when the Romans destroyed Israel, they gave Jerusalem a different name too. That name was Ilia Capitolina, and the only reason to do so was to eliminate Jerusalem from the pages of history. And it's obvious that what Islam is doing today with Al-Quds is the very, very same story. History repeats itself.
Now, did you ever hear John Brennan use Al-Quds?
I did not, but I believe he did because I listened to Claire now.
What would you, if you were listening as an Israeli, and you would hear the number one national security advisor to President Obama talk about Jerusalem as Al-Quds, what would go through your mind?
I would align him with our enemies. I would align him as an enemy of Israel. It would bring shivers to my spine, and you caught me by surprise. I wouldn't know what to say. This is something that nobody expects to hear from an American, especially not somebody who's running a CIA.
Okay, Claire, you're wonderful.
Well,
we're gonna let you go, and we have we're in the middle of Israeli. They switched the name from Israel to Israeli Apartheid Week around the United States and right here on the campus of Florida Atlantic University. So we're going to go through a little bit of that now with Ronnie, and we were on the campus last night, had a little confrontation with a few folks. Nothing new, nothing new. But we'll be in touch as always. You have a wonderful day wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and I will see you for now, Claire.
Many thanks.
Thank you,
Talk to
Claire.
you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Nice meeting you,
Bye-bye.
Claire.
You too, Ronnie.
Claire Lopez, she really is an amazing person. I've spoken with her many times. We would do briefings or whatever, and I know this stuff fairly well. But if I want to go, I go about this deep. If I want to go this deep, I go, well, you know what? Claire can pick that up right where I left off, and she'll just, whatever it is, she'll just start putting all the pieces together in different languages. And she has dedicated her life to protecting this country. That's for sure. So, hi, Ronnie. How you doing? Good to see you here.
Nice to see you too.
Yes.
It's good to be here.
We had a little when you were originally scheduled, but this is the way these kind of shows are. We didn't know we'd be fighting with these guys at FAU last night, and we didn't know that Brennan would have his hearings right now. So we view our show, Trento Vision, on WNN 1470. If you're driving in your car and listening, 32 minutes past 4 o'clock. We view our show as an advocacy show. where we're educating on national security issues, but we have a position. We're not just whatever you want to believe. We're telling people, look, Brennan is bad, Obama is bad. You gave me shivers when you said, as an Israeli, if you hear the number one national security advisor to President Obama giving a public speech, and he refers to, in a context, do you have it there, Mike? We can play it right for you. Brennan's video. I'll send it.
Send it to me.
It's that. I want to play this.
Try to do a video.
What's that?
Don't try to do a video.
What? Could we play a video, Mark?
Yeah, we could. Pull it up.
Yeah, let's try it. I mean, you got to try it. You'll like it. It's the. But I want you to comment on this in context. What he says. I'll send it to you, Mike. But tell us, how's the trip going? Let's talk about the trip first, then we'll get into all the other crazy stuff.
Well, tell your listeners a little bit about your connection to the trip, and I'll take over.
Okay. My connection to the trip is I'm going back to Israel. I mean, really, I have spent. I started my formal theological training in, I think, 1975, and from that day on, I wanted to go to Israel. And I tried for 25 years or whatever it was and just couldn't go. Either didn't have the money or you would go, okay, you're going to go, but there's a war going on over there right now, or whatever other reasons. Well, I finally went last year with Mark Kohlberg, and we were on a phenomenal briefing. Fell in love with the country, the people, and the geopolitical positioning that it's, I've been to many European countries and all that, but it's different when you're in Israel. You're in this, it's almost the heart of the world beating, the heartbeat of the world. And for whatever reasons, it's got all these enemies around it. I'm very comfortable in that kind of situation. And, okay, this is where it is. This is the center of where everything is happening. And to watch the production and the vibrancy and to watch the national security apparatus was phenomenal. Well, we're going back again. This time on a more extensive briefing in many respects. We're going at the end of September, beginning of October. And Frank Gaffney, who you just heard from on the show, and Bill Federer and William Murray, myself, Jerry Newcomb from South Florida, a whole bunch of people are going, and we're all going to be speaking at different points. And then we're opening it up to the public, and it's going to be history, politics, national security, and just the wonder of this country of Israel. It's going to be a very fascinating tour.
It will be. Well, you did better than me, I guess, introducing the trip. But I must say that for 30 years or so, I've been taking people to Israel. And only in the last several years, I decided to combine the trip of what we call Jewish motifs and or Christian pilgrimages to something that has a lot more. We definitely see all the holy places, quote unquote. We go in the footsteps of Jesus and the patriarchs. We're seeing the graves of the fathers of the nations. But we also associate ourselves with current events. And in order to do that, we are invited to the Knesset. We are going to be actually talking to members of Knesset in Israel. Perhaps with the new Knesset, we will meet some of the people that just entered and have a tremendous motive now in becoming movers and shakers. We have heads of government, local authorities. We have people that we meet from the Israeli Army, the IDF, and we are going to visit places that normally people don't get to see in Israel. So not only that we are going to have a tremendous itinerary, seeing Israel from bottom, top, right to left, but in each and every place that we stop, we will have a lecture and we'll have somebody who knows his stuff or her stuff, giving us the connection to history, Bible, and current events. I think this combination is a winning combination. I don't think too many organizations can offer anything even close to that. And those who will come with us will have time of their lives.
No, we can't wait. You're coming too, right? CJ's coming, and I think Mike's coming. The whole crew's coming. How, if somebody wants to actually come to this, how do they find the information? And let's talk about the costs. And 888-565-1470. If you want to call in, about the trip we're going on September, October. Got a lot of time to have bake sales, to car washes, whatever. You got to come on this trip. 888-565-1470. How could they find out more information?
Well, the best way is to call the number you just gave and connect the people to us, to the organization that actually puts the trip together. But also they can go to Heritage Study Programs, heritagestudyprograms.com, and one of the icons will be there for the trip itself. As you mentioned before, Frank Gaffney would be one of them. So if they push on Frank Gaffney button, they will have the trip. Or they can actually call and make reservations by phone to 1-800-355-9994, and again ask to be connected to somebody for information about the Frank Gaffney tour to Israel. We will have
has my name.
We will have many people coming, among them, of course, Tom Trento. And when you register online, if you go online, by the time you come to register, it will ask you who would be your tour leader. And if you just look his name up and click on that name, you will be a part of the delegation coming from the United States with Tom Trento. Of course, if you go with someone else, you push
the
somebody
Trento
else.
bus. On our bus,
yeah,
we're gonna have.
It's going to be the party bus.
We're gonna have free-flowing wine, macaroni. We're gonna have all kinds of different things. Let me tell you.
We will have a lot of fun. So again, the number to call is 1-800-355-9994, and all you need to say when you get somebody online is that you're going with Frank Gaffney, and you will be put with somebody who will give you all the information, and of course you'll be a part of the bus, as we call it now officially, the Trento bus in Israel.
That's right.
So.
It'll be Ferrari red. The color will be. And I'm
Lamborghini.
driving the bus,
Yeah, right.
too. I used to own a bus.
I must say that every trip to Israel is a fantastic trip. You know, I haven't seen anybody coming back from Israel saying we had a lousy time, unless they had a good reason to go to Israel and find bad things and come back and say we had something awful happen to us in Israel, and our trip just substantiated what we wanted to say all along. But it doesn't really happen. I've taken over 100,000 people to Israel.
That's amazing.
I have people that come again and again with me to Israel, because a part of what we do in Israel, as I mentioned before, is education. So they feel that in order to get educated, they have to come back, because it's actually classes. As a matter of fact, the Heritage Study Programs used to give 9 credits. Yeah, for a trip. And my curriculum, which I wrote, was the current events based on biblical prophecies. And at least 12 universities in the United States participated in it.
Wow.
And each and every one of them gave the credits.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot to learn from trips to Israel with the Heritage Study Programs. And I'm very glad we're going together, because we're going to have people speaking to us that usually people only see on television, and then they'll be with us. They'll be with us at dinners. There'll be panel discussions. There'll be people that the head of the nation.
Well, like right now, if we were there on the tour we're going on, today's Thursday. Where will we be on Thursday when we're there?
Well, that's funny, because the last time when I was here, we talked about the itinerary day by day. I think we passed Thursday, but if we are on Thursday, as a matter of fact, we would have been now in Haifa. In Haifa, and a part of what we're going to visit there would be on the Carmel, the center of the Navy, the naval base in Haifa, and this is a fascinating.
The Israeli Navy.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, Israeli Navy, and that would be an incredible visit there. and from there we're going to Galilee. So
in Haifa, is that where the big temple is?
The Baha'i.
It's the Baha'i temple. That is
yes.
beautiful.
It is a beautiful place, yeah. As a matter of fact, I have a trip that I call inclusive trip, where I offer to everybody to come and to learn about each other, just in a way of tolerance. Let's try to understand. No, Islam is a part of this trip, obviously, but I've many people that really are so removed from Christianity and Judaism, such as Hindu and the Baha'i. Baha'i is a fascinating story because they were persecuted in Persia, in Iran.
Right.
And they came to Israel and they found refuge in Haifa. They built the World Center, and
That's their World Center?
World Center. It's a World Center. And every Baha'i, and I believe there are about 5 million Baha'is today in the world, took a vow to come to Israel once in their life and devote time to do work. Not Hajj. To do work, to devote time to clean, to serve in the temple. And when you come to the temple, it's Taj Mahal. It's one of the most beautiful places. And you have people come, Baha'i believers, who are doctors and lawyers, and you see them with cleaning the grass, cleaning the garden. And it's amazing. It's a very tolerant group of people. Yes. And they found refuge in Israel. Israel gave them the mountain there, the part of the Carmel.
I don't know if you've seen it, CJ. And we didn't get up to it. We were just driving by. We stopped and took pictures. The street kind of goes for about a quarter of a mile, I guess. It goes sort of up the hill, and then up on the hill, there's these gardens and elevated walls and all of this to this big palace. It's a palace.
Basically, there's a staircase. This garden has stairs all the way from the bottom, from almost the seashore, all the way up to the Carmel, and above it
is Mount Carmel.
Mount Carmel Mountain, and it's a beautiful sight. Now, next to it, not very far, less than a mile, is the naval base of Israel, and part of it is open to special events. Not everybody is welcome there. Not everybody can come in. But us as a group,
we're going in. We're invited. The Trento bus gets into the Navy.
Bus. Maybe Gaffney is not going to get there.
No Gaffney, right.
But Trento will. So, we'll be spending the day in Haifa, and we'll understand what this city is all about before we go to Galilee. Galilee is a very interesting place to visit because there you have the Syrian situation. There you have the Lebanon situation, and then part of it, at least, you have also the Jordanian situation. So you have almost a common area that every country there has a piece to argue about.
That would be fascinating.
Now, so what we will do, we will go to the Golan Heights, and the peak of the Golan Heights, not the very peak is the Hermon Mountain, which is not a military zone, but we are going to a military zone, and we will see the border with Syria. So recently there was some problems there. We will understand. I mean problem there, and I think there were mistakes. I mean there was some shooting that weren't aimed at Israel.
Right. Yeah, that was.
And it was clarified right away. As a matter of fact, the Golan Heights is the most secured border of Israel. So Syria, for the last, 35 years, wasn't really an issue. The issue was Hezbollah in Lebanon, supported by Syria.
Right.
But Syria themselves made sure that their border was very, very
problems.
quiet.
Okay.
So we will visit it, and I think that for most people to be there on, it's called Har Tal, Mount Tal, to be there on the peak of Mount Tal and see one side, Lebanon, and the other side is Syria. And when I said the other side, I mean 2 miles away from you. You see the border, you see movements. And then behind you, you know that you just came from Israel, and that's the valley of the Jordan. You can understand how intricate this whole situation is. And there's no way you understand, watching television, CNN, ABC, even Fox News, there's no way that you can understand what's going on until you are there with Israeli soldiers, with Israeli commanders. I was one of them once too. And but I'm a little bit removed. I'm a bit old now. But, these people will explain to us, and you come back and you become a messenger of goodwill, because you understand and you can explain what you saw. So for anybody who's listening now, if you really want to know anything about the Middle East, really know the Middle East, know Israel, and also know the biblical parts, because we're not going to miss on that as well.
Sure, no. It's
we're going to visit parts that are holy to Jews, to Christians, even the Baha'i. So this is your time. Come with us to Israel. As I said, every tour is a good tour, but this is a unique tour. This is an unbelievable
This is going to be
trip.
cool. Okay, you heard it first, right? Well, not first. This is the second or third time, and we're going to talk about this every couple of weeks. Yeah, and we want you to come. We want you to seriously consider it. We have a lot of people out there that email and write and all of that. Contact us, and then if you have any concerns about safety or those issues, Ronnie assures us everything's been taken care of, and it'll be a very, very safe trip that way. And each person will be vetted. Will be what's the right term?
We in order to do what we do, we will have to vet each and every one of them. So way before we go, we will ask for passports and for other information. We will give it to the Israeli security department in the embassy here in the United States. They then send it to Jerusalem. We clear each and every one of them. We're going to visit the Knesset. We are going to be in one of the rooms there, talking to a member of parliament. So we can't just take anybody. So all the riffraffs don't come. If you're for
no riffraffs.
If you're for real, and if you really are interested to know what's going on, this is the time you go to Israel.
And the timing couldn't be better in many respects, because a lot of things going on in the world right now. And if you like a little bit of excitement with your biblical studies on the Trento van, the Trento bus, then this is the place to be. Yeah.
We're going to Armageddon.
We're going to Armageddon. Literally, not figuratively. Yeah.
Armageddon today is one of the Israeli most sophisticated Air Force bases.
Armageddon. So we are going to Armageddon on the Trento bus. As a Christian, that's very interesting. Very interesting. But anyway, all right, Ronnie, thank you. Now we want to keep you around. You can hang around, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take any calls, 888-565-1470. But you're going to shift from Heritage Tour operator and briefer to help us figure out what the heck is going on with why everybody hates the Jews. Okay, we had a song yesterday we were playing like that, but it used to be Israel Apartheid Week, which designated the country as being an apartheid country, and there was a week around the world, and I think there's 40. Now, it's longer now, and they made it Israeli. They changed the term, they being the bad guys. Exactly. So they're targeting Jewish people now, Israelis. Israeli, and all of Jewish people. Israeli Apartheid Week or Hate Week, Jewish Hate Week. Are you familiar with any of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have children that went to college and had to endure this as well. The question why? Many reasons. But I blame Israel for not having enough public relation campaigns and send enough people to the colleges here in the United States. Just like the United States, when you have the left group in Israel, all the educators in Israel, left wing, they feel that they become important when they have something bad to say about the country. It happens at the University of Tel Aviv, in Haifa, it happens in Jerusalem, it happens everywhere. How do you fight it? I don't know. There was an election just about a week and a half ago in Israel, and a major group that was virtually unknown became a major key holder to the next coalition in Israel. They are of the center, but many who voted for them are of the left. So the idea was to get them in coalition, this group, his name is Yair Lapid, that's the head of the group, to get him together with Netanyahu and move Netanyahu away from the right into the center. Thing is that it bit them in the foot.
In the foot. It bit him in the foot, the upper foot.
Yeah. So we have a situation where I think it's almost impossible to create a government. Now, how do you then take this situation and explain to the world that we are really nice people and we should be hated for things that we don't even do? Well, I don't know. It's enigma. Now, why Jews are being hated? That's an easy question. Because at one time, the church, some 2,000 years ago, decided that it would be absolutely asinine to say that God is Jewish. So they needed to strip Jesus from his Jewishness and make him into something else. Now, the fact that Jesus did not create Christianity is a different story. But they didn't have to bother with St. Paul because that was too hard to explain. So now they took the Jew and they removed them away from that group that became Christian. And you know from your seminary that the Convention of Nicaea that decided by vote that divinity is being given now to Jesus Christ made the world to what it is today. Now, who decided to do that? It was Constantine. Now, could Constantine be associated with the Jew? That would be crazy.
Sure, Roman, yeah.
So for him to say that God is one that doesn't work 20% of his life because of the Sabbath, and doesn't eat the tastiest stuff from the sea, or doesn't eat pig, it wouldn't be the right thing to do. So get the Jews out of here. But how do you do that? So you claim that you're almost like mythology. They killed God. Now, the sheer fact that you can kill God is also a question that should be asked twice.
Sure, yeah.
But that's the way it started. Now, it has nothing to do yet with what's going on today in colleges in the United States. But it had a lot to do. But it had a lot to do with everything that took place in Europe for 1900 years. From the beginning, from the 2nd century, all the way to Hitler, the idea of killing Jew was because he was God killer. Now, 1400 years ago came Muhammad, who loved the Jews. And he thought that they would embrace him and they would take him in and everything would be hunky-dory. Well, they didn't have that idea so easily taken in. And they said, no, you're not for us. So he started against the Jew and he started to make claims. Now, until 200 years ago, if you ask anybody living in Israel who wasn't a Jew...
Wait, hold that, because we got to take a break. And we'll pick up with Ronnie's analysis, philosophical and theological analysis, as to why right now on the campus of Florida Atlantic University, right down the street, why a group of people who hate Jews are holding today, they had 30 little dolls wrapped in white cloths with blood poured all over them, and that the Jewish IDF has killed these babies. And this is happening right down the street, right from here. It's Israeli Apartheid Week. We're going to talk about that with Ronnie Wexler just as soon as we get back.
Thanks for tuning into Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Tom Trento can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom at trentovision.tv. And tune in again weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Live in concert, it's the big band experience of Denver and the Mile High Orchestra. A little funk, a lot of swing. Denver and the Mile High Orchestra will put some sizzle in your soul. You'll be tapping your toes all the way back to the 30s when the Cool Cats of Denver and the incomparable Mile High Orchestra take the stage by storm.
And that stage will be the Wellington Amphitheater, Saturday, February 9th at 7 p.m. Join Denver and the Mile High Orchestra as they debut their latest project, Mile High Hymns. Again, that's Saturday, February 9th at 7 p.m., the Wellington Amphitheater. For tickets, call 561-793-5670, 561-793-5670, or online at fbcwellington.com.
Don't miss your opportunity to see Denver and the Mile High Orchestra.
It takes 12 years to create a graduate. It takes about the same time to create a dropout. The difference between a child becoming one or the other could be you. Studies prove that reading to a child regularly dramatically improves reading skills. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are 4 times as likely to graduate. So United Way is calling for 1 million volunteers over the next 3 years. We're asking you to step up, make a pledge, tutor a child who needs help, mentor a kid who needs someone on their side, volunteer to read to children, make a difference. Because when a child advances, we all advance. Entire communities improve. The path to success or failure starts long before graduation day, and the difference between a graduate and a dropout could be you. Be a reader, tutor or mentor, give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge. Go to liveunited.org now. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Learning shouldn't stop when the school bell rings. As a parent, you're a key component to your child's education team and the key to making sure that learning never stops. I'm Andy Ford, president of the Florida Education Association. Here are a few things you can do at home to help make education and learning a priority. Talk to your child about school every day. Take your child on family outings to parks, community festivals, and local landmarks. Encourage your child to count money, calculate change, read menus, read newspapers, and write letters. Talk to your child about your family, the holidays you celebrate, and the foods you eat. Learning doesn't stop when your child gets home from school. It's just the beginning. Working together, parents and teachers can make this a successful school year for every student in Florida.
A message from the Florida Education Association. Great public schools are a basic right for every student.
Hi, I'm Natalie Cole. I was given the gift of a strong voice, and I enjoy using it. That's why I find it pretty ironic that a potentially dangerous virus, hepatitis C, was able to live inside my body for almost 25 years in silence. You see, in 2008, I went in for what I thought would be a routine blood test. Instead, I was diagnosed with chronic hepatitis C. It was a shock, to say the least. But I decided to take action, and so I met with my doctors, and we talked about my options. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I kept on singing, even though I had to cancel some shows along the way. Now I'm using my gift, my strong voice, to encourage others to take action. If you have chronic hepatitis C, doing nothing is not an option. Talk to your doctor, and please log on to tuneintohepc.com for more information. Thank you.
This is Health and Wealth Radio, AM 1470, WWNN Pompano Beach.
Click Grainger.com or stop by a branch today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
A judge has ruled that hearings in the 2001 Chandra Levy murder case will continue to be closed to the public and the news media. The hearings have been held behind closed doors over the last several weeks and could signal a problem with the prosecution. Ingmar Gwandiki, an illegal immigrant from El Salvador, was convicted of Levy's murder in 2010 and is serving a 60-year prison sentence. Levy was a Washington intern whose murder went unsolved for years and captivated the public because of her romantic relationship with a California congressman. A would-be terrorist has pled guilty in New York. Correspondent Warren Levinson has more.
Speaking in a soft voice, Quasi Nafis told a federal judge, "I had intentions to commit a violent jihadist act." The 21-year-old Bangladeshi was arrested in October after trying to set off what he thought was a car bomb in front of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, one of the most fortified buildings in the city. The purported explosives were supplied by undercover federal agents. They met Nafis through an informant who heard him talking about attacking an American target. Nafis, who apologized for the plot, could face life in prison when he's sentenced in May. Warren Levinson, New York.
People who consume a lot of fried food and sugary drinks could be at greater risk for stroke than those with healthier diets. A study being presented at a stroke conference found that people who ate about 6 meals a week of high-fat, high-sugar foods had a 41% higher stroke risk than people who ate that way about once a month. People whose diets were high in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and fish had a 29% lower stroke risk. With IRN, USA Radio News, I'm Hope Duggar.
Here's some great news from Tom Trento, host of the daily WNN Trento Vision Show. Due to the unparalleled success of the Trento Vision Show, you now have an amazing opportunity to advertise on the Trento Vision Show. If you want more information about this excellent opportunity for your business, please contact Tom Trento at 561-319-5533, or you can email him, tom@trentovision.tv. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and TrentoVision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
I will,
and we're here,
whenever possible, to ensure that the record is straight and I speak fully enough.
Sort of.
I want to return to a question that Mr. Udall asked you. Would you object
You are
to,
listening
and so why,
to the
public
cross-examination of the next
classified version of
director of the Central Intelligence Agency.
Senator, I would give such a request for declassification every due consideration. There is a lot of information, material in those volumes with a lot of...
Okay, I'm going to sleep already. Get rid of this nonsense. This is what these hearings are like. I mean, they're so boring in many, many respects. Everything is scripted out. This is John Brennan at a Senate confirmation hearing in Washington, D.C. He's been nominated by the president to be the next director of the Central Intelligence Agency. He has been for 4 years the president's right-hand man on national security. He's the Deputy Undersecretary of National Security for Homeland Security, some real long term like that. But in his specific capacity, he advises President Obama on national security issues. So, if you've been watching the show for the past 2 hours, we had 3 of the top. If somehow Ronnie Wexler, I was elected president of the United States of America. And we didn't wake up from a dream, but it was like for real. I would have Frank Gaffney, Claire Lopez, and Andy McCarthy on my national security team, okay? Because they understand the philosophical mindset of not just the jihadis, not just Islam, which is the greatest threat right now. They understand the North Korean mindset. They understand the atheistic North Korean Weltanschauung worldview. They understand the communist Chinese who love driving their Mercedes, right? They understand that whole thing that's going on. But in particular, they understand the Russian mindset, which is, I don't know, what is you're the Russian studies student, CJ. What's going on in the mind of Putin nowadays? Is he a communist or a capitalist?
He's rich. He's a rich communist.
He's a rich communist. Oh, there you go. You see,
just like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and everybody else in this current administration.
When you got the guns, then your philosophical meanderings of 30 years old don't matter anymore. When you got the guns,
because when you can jail and silence your opponents politically
then
and
it
shut
works
down
real
free
well.
speech and the media in your country and terrify everybody, then you're in.
You run it.
You're
Now,
in for life.
For those of you who are regularly watching the show, we apologize it's not on TrentoVision.tv. You're watching yesterday's show, but that's okay. It was a good show, too. That's what's happening. I'm getting texts going, this looks like yesterday's show.
Thanks for playing.
We will straighten that out tomorrow. We just wanted you to have a kind of a unique experience on Trento Vision watching yesterday's show. Now, tomorrow you have to watch today's show. I don't know how that's going to work.
No.
But
YouTube.com/The United West.
Yeah, go there. And we will have all of this stuff sorted out. But you know what? Fall back on
iHeart
Radio.
Heart
Radio. Fall back on iHeart Radio. Get that application. I mean, and look, we're on 3 hours a day. You got 21 hours to groove to the Temptations, the Four Seasons, the Beatles, whoever you want to. Those are the older groups. Or if you want to listen to Beethoven, you can. iHeart Radio has so much great stuff. Go there. And 3 to 6 every day, we are live, crystal clear, digital audio, no matter where you are on the face of the earth, as long as you have a phone signal. Okay, 10 minutes after 5 o'clock. Our purpose today, the first hour, we had on Frank Gaffney, Andy McCarthy, and we're specifically trying to wake up Americans, get them mobilized, calling your senators. We have 2 senators in Florida. Do you know who they are? Anybody?
Rubio.
Marco Rubio, he's the Republican senator. And who's the Democrat
Bill
senator?
Nelson.
Astronaut, space cadet Nelson. He's still around, floating around. Call those suckers up. Tell them no on Brennan. And the thesis that you heard, Andy McCarthy, who prosecuted the blind shake, and Frank Gaffney, who worked for President Reagan, is that Brennan, for whatever reasons are going around his head, has chosen to propagate a brand of Islam that isn't what Islam is. He has Islam light, some warmed over, fuzzy, phony baloney view of the Islamic doctrine, even getting into doctrinal issues like the jihad, like Sharia, and to put at the top of our intelligence community a guy that either doesn't want to understand or does not understand or is collaborating with the enemy seems to be the wrong decision. You think seems to be the wrong decision. So we were doing our show, our first hour, on that. And I want to play one little piece on Brennan, Mike, when he gave his little Al-Quds speech. Oh, he doesn't have that one up? Which one? The R's?
I have that up. Oh, you did? The brown one that you sent me?
Yeah.
I have that up.
I put that up, and then I'm gonna tie together the Brennan thing to what's going on in Boca Raton, and we're gonna all analyze that. And then we're gonna ask the question: is John Brennan a Muslim? How about that? Is John Brennan a Muslim?
And if he is, does it matter?
Does it matter?
Yeah.
You know what Occam's razor is?
Yes.
Yeah. What is Occam's razor?
The shortest answer is normally
The shortest answers. Right. Exactly.
When you've eliminated everything.
The simplest
answer is the most correct. Is the most likely answer when you've limited all the other options.
Yeah. The simplest explanation is usually the correct explanation for something, and it would seem to me knowing. Now I know some of the people listening and watching aren't as involved in these issues, but I mean we've been studying Brennan for 4 years now, and quite a bit about him. And if you propose a theory, if you put up a hypothesis, then you start to develop the evidence to support the hypothesis. Then it goes from a theory, from a hypothesis to a theory to a fact. It goes through a little process. If you stick up there, John Brennan is a Muslim, then Oh, man.
Well, now everything makes sense.
It all starts to come together.
Now, it's a magic piece of the puzzle if you think about this. Because I was asking that earlier. I was going, why does he go this way and support all these bad guys? And you start eliminating all the other possibilities, and you're going, my wife was asking it.
Yeah.
Was asking, why does he do this?
Why does he do it? Why does he deny what jihad is? Why does he call Jerusalem Al-Quds? Why does he speak to the Muslim Brotherhood groups in the United States? Why does he tell us that the United States policy should be to stop picking on Iran?
Right.
And no sanctions?
And so you start looking at
Whose side are you on?
Now you start looking at it down that path, and you're trying to say, okay, well, does that theory have any merit? Does that question have any merit?
But how bizarre is that? We're throwing out a theory, asking the question: is the next head of the CIA a Muslim? Right? It's almost,
does that matter?
It's almost as bizarre.
And does it matter?
Well, it's almost as bizarre saying, is the president of the United States a Muslim?
Well, the Muslims think he is, and if he had a Muslim father, then by the rules of Islam, whatever they are, then he is a Muslim.
Well, the
right?
Muslims absolutely think he is. They absolutely.
So if he is a Muslim,
but this is how we get labeled as whack jobs and right wing nut jobs, and we're.
Well, why is it wacky to say what somebody's religion is?
Well, but it's so bizarre that John Brennan, who's killing Muslims with drones, would be a Muslim himself.
Well, yeah, but he's cherry picking which ones he kills. And he's not like Frank Gaffney said, he's not capturing them and interrogating them and getting useful information out of them. He's not killing them on the battlefield, which we don't let our soldiers and Marines do. So,
well,
maybe you're just picking a few.
Let's ask
and
the
then you
people.
can say, oh, well, yeah, what are you talking about? I'm not fighting this war. Of course I am. I sent the drones out. Didn't I take out some Al-Qaeda people last week?
Let's ask the people out there in the viewing and listening world, do you think that John Brennan is a Muslim? 888-565-1470.
And if so, why? If not, why not?
Yeah.
Let's take Valanda just real quickly.
Let's
we'll
say
take
hi
a few
to
people.
Valanda
Hi,
real
Valanda.
quick, though.
You're with Tom and CJ, Mike, Mark, Ronnie, a whole bunch of people in here today.
Yeah, we got a full house today.
Yeah, as far as John Brennan is concerned, given what I know about him, what I've heard, he sounds like he could be up there. I would say that he definitely has Muslim sympathy. I mean, big time.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question he has Muslim sympathies. He's actually said that sort of.
No, yeah, he is.
Yeah. The question is, do you think he's a Muslim?
I wouldn't be surprised. No.
What I mean, Ronnie, if I don't know how much you know about John Brennan, but would it surprise you if you found out that the next head of the CIA is a Muslim?
Not at all.
Not surprise you.
Not from this president, it wouldn't.
Oh, man. So what are your thoughts on all of this, Valanda? We'll take you for a couple of minutes here, then I'm going to tell you something pretty wild.
Yeah, because I wanted to hear about your times at FAU. But I wanted to direct the question specifically to your guest, Ronnie.
Sure.
You mentioned the fact, Ronnie, that Israel didn't have a public relations campaign. And here really in the U.S., not a significant one, and that's why we're seeing what we're seeing in the universities and probably everywhere else. My question to you would be, was it that Israel was just negligent about not creating that campaign, or was it because they're already being criticized by the likes of Chuck Hagel and others, saying that the Jewish lobby is intimidating and everything else? Why do you think they never created that public relations campaign that I like you feel they should have launched? I should have created.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Israel wasn't geared for a major public relation job because they were actually in the trenches fighting wars, and it's very hard to do both at the same time. But more importantly, I think American Jewish communities are very supportive of Israel. We as Jews, I don't include myself now, But we Jews tend to look at Israel as the underdog, and we feel more comfortable when Israel is the underdog. And when Israel flexing muscles, we find it in America, not in Israel. We find it in America a little hard to explain ourselves. We need to be the underdogs in order to feel good about ourselves and get some pity, perhaps. Now, most educators in Israel, in universities, colleges, as they are in the United States, are left-wing bunch of people who don't see it the way you and I see it. And to get public relations into universities, you have to pass by them, by the administration, by the teachers, by those who stop you from coming in. So what you saw yesterday, or what Tom saw yesterday at FAU, doesn't surprise me a bit. My children went to school here too, and they had to fight their war on a daily basis. Unfortunately, they couldn't go anywhere with that because it's overwhelming. So now, what Israel could have done, Israel could have probably get a little bit more into the Al Jazeera type thing and create their own network that would give a balanced news, not always the best about Israel, but at least a good part of what radio television should be. So that's a part of what Israel should have done, didn't do. Big mistake. The rest, I think, being Jews, and we call Israel is our country, we need to take matters to hand. You, I, people who live here. That's the problem.
Okay. Good question. Thank you, Valanda, and we have some good stuff coming up to listen to this hour.
Yeah, we're going to do a couple of things here. Thanks, Ronnie, for that answer. The question I'm raising right now is, and we're in the middle, folks, of a significant appointment that will lead the intelligence community of the United States of America for the next 4 years. And if indeed Frank Gaffney is right, Andy McCarthy is right, Claire Lopez is right, and this man is unprepared, ill-suited, and possibly has a worldview, John Brennan, that collaborates with, endorses, and supports the Muslim Brotherhood, where's this country going to be in 4 years? We see where we were 4 years ago and where Obama has taken us. Against that background, we're raising the issue, is John Brennan a Muslim? 888-565-1470. Just weigh in. But let's play, to help you make a decision. I know it's bizarre. Is the next head of the CIA a Muslim? Let's play this little 1-minute piece where he gave a speech, and listen real carefully. Ronnie, I want you to listen to this too and get your thoughts.
University in Cairo in the 1970s, and time spent with classmates from Egypt, from Jordan, from Palestine, and around the world.
Egypt, Jordan, and
who taught me that whatever our differences of nationality or race or religion or language, there are certain aspirations that we all share. To get an education, to provide for our families, to practice our faith freely, to live in peace and security. And during a 25-year career in government, I was privileged to serve in positions across the Middle East, as a political officer with the State Department and as a CIA station chief in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, I saw how our Saudi partners fulfilled their duty as custodian of the two holy mosques of Mecca and Medina. I marveled at the majesty of the Hajj and the devotion of those who fulfilled their duty as Muslims by making that pilgrimage. And in all my travels, the city I have come to love most is Al-Quds, Jerusalem, where three great faiths come together.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
That whole
God
piece
bless
is
the
interesting.
Saudis for being such magnificent keepers of the great mosques of Mecca and Medina. Yeah.
He says
because they were under threat from everybody, right?
He understood Jerusalem to be Al-Quds, then he modifies it afterwards with Jerusalem. He doesn't say Jerusalem.
Oh, he
Al-Quds.
didn't have friends in Israel either. He had friends in Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Palestine.
What did you notice out of that?
All right. If I didn't know who it was, and I was just listening to it just
I would
off.
think it's somebody
you know,
from the
prima
Rotary
facie case.
Club.
Someone just listen to this person. You don't know who he is, and tell me if he is a Muslim or if he is a Christian or if he is a Jew.
Or a Unitarian.
Or Unitarian or whatever. Well, first of all, the Jew thing, I throw that out the window. Okay, he's not a Jew.
Throw the Jew thing out the window.
He's not a Jew because the Jew would never call Jerusalem Al-Quds.
Yeah.
He might,
or
they
Israel,
might qualify it.
Palestine either.
Or the
Israel.
Hajj is such a wonderful
Yeah.
adventure.
Okay, Unitarian. You actually could probably see a Unitarian doing that.
Well, like I said, the Rotary Club, you
Rotary
know?
Club, yeah, but if you really had okay, give me A or B, I go, that sounds like a Muslim.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
listening
doesn't
to
even sound Christian.
There's no Christian in it whatsoever.
No.
It's just like,
No,
or some.
it's so evocative of when Obama said that the most beautiful sound he ever heard was that call to prayer.
Ronnie, what
From
is
the
what is
minarets.
what is your impression of that 1 minute little piece?
Well, again, I didn't hear it before in the context of what I saw. Now, when I saw and heard what you just showed me, that threw shivers in my spine. This is definitely a major problem. Whether he's Muslim or not, I don't know, but he is a Muslim, all right, in the way he thinks, and that's scary. For this man to be the head of the CIA and talk like this, friends in Saudi Arabia, the magnificent way of the Hajj, Mecca and Medina, the holy cities, and Al-Quds.
He packed a lot in 1 minute.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, it was loaded for bear in that whole statement. You're just like,
really?
Who is this guy?
Now, let me ask you, sir, how many Americans know what Al-Quds is?
Zero. Okay?
The audience is not American. So he didn't speak to Americans here. He didn't speak to people here who need to understand what this is all about. He spoke from both sides of his mouth. He spoke to the Muslim world.
Yeah, he did. We have somebody on the phone, CJ?
Yeah, we do. We have Nancy on the line.
Hi, Nancy. You with Tom and CJ and Mike, Mark, and everybody else I'm running.
It is absolutely my pleasure to be able to speak with you today. Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Where are you calling from, Nancy?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati. Cool.
Yes.
Cool indeed. You mean really cold.
Yeah.
What's the temperature up there, Nancy?
It's not really bad today. It's kind of in the mid 50s. So
that sounds nice.
That's livable. Yeah.
The
heat wave.
Yeah.
Exactly. I thought about putting my bikini on, but no.
Yeah, no, that won't
anyway. I don't really have a question. I do have a comment.
Sure.
Okay.
My comment is, as I have watched Obama's administration over the last 4 years, went into deep depression when he was elected again, and I think everybody dances around how he got elected again.
We don't.
Yeah, I don't either, but anyway. This is his agenda coming to fruition.
Yep.
This is exactly what he planned. He has surrounded himself with people like Valerie Jarrett, Mr. Axelrod, Tim Geithner, people who have known associations with communism or, whatever you want to put that term into. And does it surprise you that he would nominate Mr. Brennan for this position? This is exactly what he wanted. This was his plan all along.
I think so. I think he told the world this was his plan all along back in June of 2009 when he made his major speech, his major world debut at Cairo University in Cairo, Egypt, co-sponsored by what's the Islamic university there?
Al-Azhar.
Al-Azhar, co-sponsored by them, with the Muslim Brotherhood invited to sit in the front row so that the president of the hosting country was not able to attend. And he stood up there in front of this audience, in front of the world, and he basically said, I'm one of you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And And talk about shivers down the spine.
No, I gotta. Yeah,
Those of us in the United States who pay attention to such things got the message loud and clear.
I got an interesting hype. I want your input from everybody here. In the best case scenario,
You're blowing up the mic.
If he is a Muslim, okay.
If John Brennan
is a Muslim,
okay, yeah.
We know what the worst case could be, but what is the best case scenario that could be if he is a Muslim?
Oh, good question.
Okay, because first of all, is he going to bring in other Muslims who he has not vetted and just kind of trust, or I mean, will he actually go through a security background check on
Huma
these guys?
Abedin's extended family all working at the CIA.
I said earlier,
what is the good?
The West Wing is going to have the Muslim Brotherhood's own door with their own.
With their own foot baths, with their own 5 times a day prayer times.
All right, so now we give all these people who are
let our guests talk. Yes, Nancy, what?
Well, prior to the Tea Party community website, which I absolutely love and I will promote, I used to post on Facebook about the Muslim Brotherhood, and they talked about the fiscal cliff. And I posted ad nauseum, people, wake up. What is waiting for us at the bottom of the fiscal cliff that they're salivating, they're waiting for us to fall? Is the Muslim Brotherhood,
right?
So that they can take this country, invoke Sharia law, and take over. And of course, I'm known as the crazy lady because I post things like that. But it's true. It's very, very true. This has been Obama's agenda from day one. Day one, he was hand-selected to be put into this position, and he was chosen long before he ever ran for president.
All right, well, thank you, Nancy. We're going to comment on some of this, so keep listening, and thanks for becoming one of the listeners, watchers of Trento Vision, Tea Party community, all of that. Nancy, goodbye, Nancy. Nancy raises an interesting point. I mean, it sounds like a conspiracy theory, obviously, but we know too much about Obama. We know he was hand-selected in Chicago by Don Warden, who later became Al Mansour. He converted from wherever he was. He was a Christian faith, converted to Nation of Islam, and became an attorney. Don Warden, Al Mansour, became the attorney for the royal family, the Saudi family, and then worked to get then young up-and-coming star Barack Obama into Harvard Law School. So we know the Saudis had a hand in that. That's why a lot of the records aren't released.
Yeah, well, maybe his grades weren't good enough to get in either because we don't know what his grades were at Occidental.
That was 81. That was about 85 or so. He was about he was about 30 years old. That's almost 91. And I don't think the Saudis and Don Warden, Al Mansour, back in the late 80s, early 90s, said this guy's going to be the president. I think they probably said, this guy's going somewhere. He could even make it to the top. Let's get behind him. Because that indeed is what they did. Now, this really gets bizarre because if Brennan is a Muslim, then he's the head of the CIA. Remember, we were all very concerned about what happened with Petraeus?
Right.
Yeah.
That stuff, how'd that
what
all
about
get
all
out?
What about all the national security leaks that have happened over the last 4 years? How many of them are tied to Brennan?
Yeah, and now all of a sudden Brennan is going to be the top national security guy for top of the CIA, that's all the FBI is a law enforcement agency internally. The CIA is externally, outside the United States. That's huge.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll tell the folks where we're going with this. 888-565-1470. Tomorrow, we're trying to put it together. Someone wrote an article and has raised the theory and concluded, based upon the research they have done, that John Brennan is indeed a Muslim. And
Oh my gosh.
And this is a...
So this is not just us
No, this is
talking
not
about
us.
it on the radio. Somebody actually wrote this.
Yeah, somebody wrote an article, and somebody that we know well, and somebody that is a national security expert.
Now, is this just a hypothesis, or is there some substantiating facts?
I read the article, and I spoke to the author, and there is no doubt in the article or in the author's mind. And I don't want to get into too many details because it's looking for a place to be published right now. And
Is there anybody with guts out there to do
everybody's
that?
frightened. Everybody's frightened to publish it.
Yeah.
But the conclusion is that he's a Muslim, and so what does that mean?
Just that he's a Muslim, or he's a Muslim Brotherhood.
Or that he's a
co-opted
Muslim
because-
who's co-opted and collaborating with the goal.
Is it
of,
all right? I'll make that simple. Is he a Zudi Jazzer Muslim, or is he a Morsite Muslim?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Jasser Morsai. Well, we'll have to wait and see, but we're trying to put that together. But it certainly does answer a lot of questions. But see, we have the Constitution, and case law has established that there is no religious test for office or for appointed positions like that, which is good. There's no religious test.
Okay.
So theoretically,
Okay.
But there's a philosophical test, is there not?
Well, there's a yes.
All right, am I a German Catholic or am I German Nazi Catholic? I mean,
right.
a little bit different. Okay.
That's a good point.
Right.
Oh wait. There's a test for that one because that's your political beliefs. Oh, but wait. If we understand Islam, Sharia is their political belief. In any event, that's where we're going tomorrow. We're trying to put that together, but that's why this is so critical, the hearing that's going on today. Let's take one more quick call, then we'll get into Boca Raton over here.
Okay, we have
Who?
Judah on the line. Judah on the line real
hi.
quick because we
Hi.
have a video to show, and Mark's going like, hurry up.
I'll be very brief.
Is
First
John
of
Brennan
all,
a Muslim? That's the question of the day for you, Judah.
Well, he could be. His behavior borders on treason. Certainly a useful idiot. I did want to tell Tom that I emailed him the information that he requested of me, and I will say this, that, and I know you want me to be very brief.
Yes,
I
please.
respectfully disagree with what Ron said. I think Israel's problem lies in the fact that it refuses to annex Judea and Samaria and claim its God-given heritage, its inheritance. It's like spitting in the face of God, if I may use that term. And that's where our problem lies. We refuse to take what is ours, and I think that's the bottom line.
Okay.
And I thank you.
Thank you, Judah.
You're welcome.
Hey,
You know
Judah,
what he's
what
talking about, right?
what did you? I forgot what I
No,
asked.
it was the information that we asked him for from his trip to FAU yesterday, where he took
You
down the
wanna
names of
report
the
it,
people
yeah.
who tried to keep him out of
Okay, you sent it
Out of the Israel
Trento
Hate
Vision. You sent it
Fest.
to Trento Vision.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to go. over
Yes, TrentoVision.tv.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, let me look at what he sent, but we're going to play a little piece of a little video right now, and this, Ronnie, is the introduction to what's going on, Israel Apartheid Week. And before you do that, Mike, let me read you this right here. This is
It's not Israel Apartheid Week, Tom. It's Israeli
Israeli, yeah.
Apartheid Week, which is a huge, significant difference.
I'm reading from their website, the 9th Annual Israeli Apartheid Week 2013. We are excited to announce the 9th Annual Israeli Apartheid Week starting late February in Europe and moving to various countries through the month of March. It is our annual international series of events, rallies, lectures, cultural performances, film screening, blah, 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 held in cities and campuses across the globe. We seek to raise awareness about Israel's apartheid policies toward the Palestinians, to build support for the growing boycott, divestment, and sanctions BDS against Israel campaign. To accommodate various university students and cities from around the world, will take place in slightly different weeks. blah, blah, blah. We are crazy, and we want to suppress your right to free speech. All right, that's their gig. We went to visit them last night. Let's take a look.
Cameras, please remain outside the venue. For what reason? Student event.
Hey, Tom. Tom, come here. What's that? He says he's trying to stop the cameras from coming.
Can't stop the cameras from going
Just,
in.
you're listening to one of our. Just listen.
Excuse me. You just.
All right, we're going in.
We're going in.
The radio side.
Uh-huh. It sounds perfect. I hear it perfectly.
Y'all have to record out here. You can't come in here and record. You can ask people like what
is the law? Is this a public
You can't do that.
No, actually it's for students only. So
You must advertise publicly to the public.
Okay, but what I know.
Just stop that for a minute, Mike.
What you know is
They
wrong.
can hear this.
But that's
Just,
right now.
can you stop and start?
We're going in there.
Mark's getting all nervous that the people don't know what's going on. I just introduced the thing.
Yeah, but the police.
What would you want to tell them? The whole story? We don't want to tell them the story. We want them to.
Discussion with the police. So you'll be approached there, and you're being stopped by a police officer to get into the room. It's not just. You're just.
Well, yeah. I mean, we had a confrontation last night at Boca Raton. We walked in. We were confronted by several different people, and then there's a discussion between a police officer, myself, and a whole bunch of people. Just get a sense, get a feel for the. You'll hear by the active verbs what's going on. Keep playing it, Mike.
Need to understand. No, you can go in here, but what I'm saying to you is you cannot film in here.
We're going to videotape the people and talk to them in there.
No, you can do it out here. You can do it out here. That's where you can videotape and talk to people.
This
if
is they the
wanna
room,
talk
sir.
to you.
I'm talking about the law now, okay?
So am I.
We understand the law extremely well.
Okay.
This was a public event.
Okay.
Advertised publicly at a public university. There is no suppression of communication in those situations. So whoever is advising you is advising you improperly.
Well, that's what I've been advised. If you
Can we speak to your superior?
If you can speak to my superior, but
Could you call him?
it's not going to do you any good. What you have to do, you have to speak with the building manager. Okay, I can't get a hold of him now. You have to speak
because
with
he just ran away.
Larry Fairman.
Let me tell you what's going on. Well, let me tell you what's going on. If you're going to keep us from going in there, then you're the one obstructing our First Amendment rights, guaranteed on a university campus.
You have to speak with the appropriate people. I cannot help you with that.
Okay. That's a little bit. We'll play a little more in a second, but that's a little bit of the tension, the conflict that occurred yesterday. Greta Berlin. You recognize that name? Greta Berlin is one of the founders of the Free Gaza movement, and she was on the flotilla. If I remember correctly, it was Memorial Day 2010. I did a video on it, actually. The 9 ships, the Mariana. What was the name of the ship? The Mariana.
Audacity of Hope was one of them, wasn't it?
I think it was. There were 9 ships coming out of Turkey.
One of them was the Audacity of Hope.
I think there was the Audacity of Hope.
That's serious.
They played it off of Obama, and the 9 ships were packed with food and clothing for the poor Palestinians. They were going to go right into Gaza, to the Gaza harbor, and the Israelis said, this went on for months. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. And they're all a bunch of old pot-smoking hippies that are on these peace ships. Yeah. So the Israeli commandos went out in international waters. They fast roped down. They were going to take control of the ship. They said you can go to Haifa, you can go to Ashkelon, you can go into a port. We'll check all the stuff and we'll deliver it right where you want it. But we're not going to let you drive into our beaches, okay? So when they fast rope down, they're figuring they're going to be there with a bunch of pot-smoking, Code Pink people. And turns out there were a bunch of men with weapons on the ship, and they started beating the hell out of the commandos and hurt many of them.
What a shock.
And they had paintballs. They had little paintball guns, the Israeli commandos. They did carry their 9mm, but others had to come and rescue them and kill about 10 of the peace guys. So it became a big international incident. Well, the woman who was behind that spoke at Florida Atlantic University last night. We went there to go into the room and videotape her. And that was the confrontation where they would not let me, Mark, or anyone with a camera in the room. And what was their argument, Mark?
Their argument was, well, they have the room, they've rented the room out, and you can't come in because they paid for the room on a public university in a publicly funded area on a public land. And so they have the right to tell anybody who they want to have come in or come out of the student union building.
And I'm reading a note from...
and also to ban press from going in there, too.
I'm reading the full report from Judah, and very detailed. I have the full name of the people, the other person who I felt intimidated from entering the Majestic Bee ballroom. I think that was the larger room. Where two speakers were sponsored by Society for Justice for Palestine. No time did these men identify them as FAU security. And so he goes into that. Then he goes into the big explanation, a very helpful explanation. Thank you, Judah. This will be very helpful in our research because they would not let us in.
Well, and here's
they wouldn't let you in with a camera.
Right.
Yeah, but who are they to decide where a camera can go in a public space?
I know, and there you go, and that's the rub. And if you look at it from the angle, from that this woman is a known anti-Semite. She's made many anti-Semitic statements. She's distributed anti-Semitic material. Actually, some of the very leftist Jewish groups have come out and said, we are not endorsing this woman whatsoever. And we
Greta Berlin, right?
Greta Berlin. And
that would get her honorary degrees at most universities in this country. That wouldn't get her kicked out of the room.
But here's the issue: is that if you look at a person who's a known it's about like, okay, I'm going to invite the KKK onto the campus. Fine. Okay, if you want to invite the KKK on the campus, fine. Or the white separatists on the campus, fine. Go ahead and do that if that's what you think it's healthy for the students to understand that perspective. Okay. Yet, when the KKK person comes on there, or the white separatist comes on there to the university, and then they say, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to record anything that he's saying to these young, impressionable minds.
Because he doesn't want you to record him.
Because he doesn't want you to. Because he doesn't want others to hear what he is saying to the students.
Right.
How much would you ever stand up for something like that?
No, you wouldn't.
No, it's unacceptable.
You wouldn't.
It's unacceptable.
And the fact is, these talks, because there were some earlier in the day, and then that Judah went to, that Mike went to, that he got kicked out of, that you got kicked out of at night, all taking place in the same spot, all advertised publicly as a public event at a public university. No disclaimers on there of no recording, no filming, no taping, no discussions with the speakers, no interactions with the students. Show your political sympathies at the door in order to be let in. No such disclaimers on any of the material advertising.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Let me put it in another context. Let's say you have your public schools over here, your K through 12, and person comes in there to the junior or senior class, or even sophomore class, and says, what we're going to do, we're going to bring in a known anti-Semitic person into the class to talk to the students. You as mom, dad, are you guys okay with that? And if they are, okay, that's okay. But we're not going to record anything this guy says because we just want them to be able to have free will to say to the students whatever they feel like. Now, we're not going to have any parents monitoring it or anything like that. We're not going to record anything. So, are you guys okay with that?
Well, that's different when it's children under 18.
Well, 19 to 20 is any different?
Well, legally
CJ?
It's different. Legally, the 19-year-olds have a choice about attending or not attending, and if they're in grade 10, 11 or 12, they don't have a choice.
Let me put this into perspective. At 47 minutes past 5 o'clock, you're watching Trento Vision. Yeah, you can be watching it. And WNN 1470 on the radio in Boca Raton. We're talking about, I think we'll continue some of this tomorrow because I'm reading some of their material here.
Mhm.
We're talking about the program that's going on all of February, March throughout the world.
Yeah.
Happens to be here right now in Boca Raton. Yesterday we had on our show Gary Faust,
Yeah.
who's an adjunct professor at the University of California at Irvine, California in Orange County. Jihad U, if there's ever been a place, we've been down there and confronted those folks there. And he gave us a report on exactly the same sort of nonsense that's going on. And when he sat down in the room and Omar Barghouti started, was going to start speaking, the officials came over to Gary and said no videotaping. He said, excuse me, we've already been through this. It's the law. Go get the police. And he held his ground, and they backed off because it is the law. You can videotape. Well, regrettably, we weren't in there, and then they would have had to physically remove us. So when we went, and you were listening on that, you heard the confrontation, it occurred at the doorway to the room to get in, and the policeman blocked the way. We would have had to forcibly move him or push by him, and we don't want to do that because that's a
Right.
violation. Right
Right.
now, we created a record yesterday that if the jury watches it, we did everything precisely and properly legal, and they did everything wrong. And that's going to be possibly a cause of action. That's how you fight these crazy battles. But I'm reviewing the promotional material.
Well, I thought just on top of the promotional material, right as you go into it, is I think it's important to highlight what has changed from what it was to what it is now. It used to be Israel Apartheid Week,
Yep.
where Israel is a country, Israel is a thing, an entity. Let me ask you, what is the difference between Israel and Israeli?
Yeah, even before we get to that, for those of you who didn't watch or listen yesterday, let's establish what apartheid really is. Apartheid was legal, political, and economic segregation was the policy of the South African government until there was an international movement to boycott, divest, and impose sanctions on the South African government to stop discriminating against non-Europeans in South Africa. That was a good campaign. It was successful, and South Africa's a different country today. Now, the people who hated the fact that the Jews are in Israel are trying to make Israel an apartheid state.
Sure. It's a
There's
beautiful
an
move.
international campaign. We already know the world hates apartheid. Let's just call those Jews apartheid.
Well, they're calling.
And it's so crazy.
The issue that I'm bringing up, though, is I hear about the apartheid thing, but the issue I'm bringing up is how the left always moves it to what they really want, and so they're moving the issue from outside of Israel, the country, to Israeli.
I know. I was
individual.
just establishing what apartheid week is, whether they're
It's
calling it
nonsensical.
Israel or Israeli.
How do you hear it differently?
Well, Israel is a country, and you can say that there's some policies that are wrong, this, that, and the other. Even Yuda, when he said to me, on his comment to me, that the one thing that I missed is Israel should have annexed the West Bank. That's obvious to me. That's not an issue. That's so we all feel that way. But there's some PR that's needed to explain why we do that, because God gave us this piece of land. Now, to answer your question, some countries have different policies, and some of them may be wrong. But when you say the people are wrong, that means the anti-Semitism in its best. This is now framing every Israeli, every Jew in Israel as a hater of Islam, of a hater of people, bunch of people that would dehumanize other group of people, control them, and do their thing. Your observation is absolutely correct. It's a major difference.
It's Jew hate fest is what it is. It's now it's personal. It's beyond
Right.
country. It's personal. It's
Right.
like, okay, now we're going after Jews.
Truth of the matter is that I don't know of a nicer country in the world that treat people as a rule, the way Israel is doing it with its population, whether it's Arab or not. I don't know how many people in America know that with the Israeli Knesset, there are Arab representation, the Arab representatives, and a member of Knesset. I believe there are 7 of them today. One of them openly is talking about the destruction of Israel, and he's still a member of Knesset. So to call Israel and Israelis apartheid people or apartheid country, and yet have Israeli Arabs talk against Israel.
And this is part of the problem, and we're pushing the clock now. We're going to have to wind down, but we're going to continue this tomorrow because it's very, very important. That was a caller who was in the room and got removed physically, and he wanted to know if he should call in, and I said call in tomorrow. So we'll hear from that person. I think he had a camera, and they physically removed him. This is very, very, very important because we're hearing a lot of Jewish response to this Israel apartheid deal. Is, we're pushing back, we're pushing back, we're pushing back. Wrong term, pushing back. You need to be devastating the opponent. You need to be defeating the terms we use in our activism: disrupt, disable, destroy. Every Jewish person on the face of the earth should be working in some capacity, whether it's covert or overt, to disrupt, disable, destroy this movement, because it's nonsensical, but it's gaining ground and it's gaining prominence on a campus. So pushing back is swatting, a fly swatting at an elephant. So it's a waste of time.
You have to remove this thing from its source. I mean, this is just insane to be on this.
And one of the ways we do this is if we have to file a lawsuit, I'm reading their material. Gaza Awareness Week. Oh, Israel's so bad. They've killed... they've wounded 5,000. They've killed 1,400 Palestinians, including 352 children. Today they had on campus little babies wrapped in little dolls, white with blood. So they're inviting everybody, and then they have a list of all the venues. And guess what they have on Wednesday, February 6th? The Freedom Sailors, an evening with Free Gaza Movement, Majestic Palm Room B, Student Union, 5 p.m. Is that where we were?
That's where we were.
That's where we were.
Oh, but it doesn't say Mark and CJ and Mike and Tom, and they can't come. It doesn't say that there.
It doesn't say the press can't come.
It doesn't say the press can't come.
Well, they let me in after they asked me what I was going in for. The building manager,
you had to be clear.
He asked me. He says, "What are you looking for?" And I said, "I'm looking for the Majestic Room." And he says, "What are you going for?" And I said, "The Free Gaza." Oh, okay, yeah, you can go in.
Yeah,
after you've been screened in this.
Somebody's got to stand up for the Jewish students on that campus. Somebody's got to stand up for the Christian students. And there are groups on campus that are doing this, but we bring a little more firepower and a little more strength and knowledge and experience to this. So, hello, Students for Justice for Palestine, or whatever the hell your name is. We're going to be visiting you in the days ahead, and we may be visiting you, Florida Atlantic.
Especially February 12th.
Yes, and especially Florida Atlantic University. We may be visiting you with Peter Feynman, our lawyer. No, we have constitutional attorneys for this one. Yeah. Stay tuned, folks. Tomorrow we'll be back. We have more on this. Ronnie, it's been great having you here. We're going to have to bring you in more often as an analyst. You go way beyond tour stuff. Yeah. You fought for Israel. You were born in Israel. You'll die for Israel. So we need you analyzing this stuff with us. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.